And welcome to Graham Road at Aspley in sunny Brisbane for the NEAFL Grand Final between the Brisbane Lions and the Sydney Swans. My name is Mark Kennedy, and joining me this afternoon will be Mark Browning and Bob Batty. Right now we're seeing the two sides come together to work through the national anthem and looking forward to getting this game underway. So silence for a few minutes while we observe the national anthem. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen, the Australian National Anthem, which will set us off towards this NEAFL Grand Final. As I mentioned before, Mark Kennedy joining me this afternoon for the game between the Brisbane Lions and the Sydney Swans is former Swan in Mark Browning, and also Bob Batty, the Queensland State Talent Manager. And first to you, Mark, a cross-conference final. The Swans have had a lot of injuries coming in today and have had to force a lot of their players up to be in Perth today. So it's going to be a tough ask for the Sydney Swans, but they're certainly up for the challenge.
Oh, definitely. And look, it is a grand final, and you know, I know the pleasing thing from where I sit, of course, working across talent, is that a number of boys out of both the Lions and the Swans academies are playing today. So while, yeah, we'd love to see more of the listed players playing, this is a great finale and opportunity and stage for some of the young talent to certainly display. And really, that's what the NEAFL is supposed to be all about, Kanga.
And Bob Batty, some of the key matchups today will be certainly very interesting. Obviously, some of the listed players. Have you got any thoughts about any of the interesting matchups or key players that will have a big bearing on this match today?
Yeah, well, I'm sure the Lions will be very keen to put a bit of a stopper on Tony Armstrong. He won the medal last week in the NEAFL Eastern Conference Final, so I'm sure they'll have a good look at him. And a boy, young Tim Membray, a boy that's first year at the Swans, recruited through the TAC Cup down in Victoria. He's a real strapping young lad, and I think he's another one that the Lions will have to watch closely. And from the Swans' behalf, I'm sure they're going to look at Jack Crisp. Jack is his form's been excellent over the last 3 or 4 weeks especially, and won the medal last week to cap off a fantastic final series for Jack.
Yeah, and you just look at the Lions' tools. They were terrific last week, especially Aaron Cornelius, kick 6, and then you've got Sammy Michael, you've got Jordan Lyle there, Jordan Lyle. Yeah, that's probably where the Lions, if they can get enough ball out through the middle, you would think that they're certainly going to worry the Sydney Swans. I think 2 or 3 times they've played each other throughout the year, and the Lions have won it on every occasion.
That's right, and it is 3-0 to the Lions, and of course it's 23 points, and I'll just get that, 33 points, 23 points, and it was 68 points on one occasion throughout the year. Of course, the Sydney Swans beat Belconnen to qualify for this game today, while the Brisbane Lions defeated Aspley. Where the ground we're actually on today is Aspley's home ground, and they were convincing winners after a tight first half of last week's affair at Yeronga.
The other interesting point, Mark, is the coaches today. Jared Crouch, in his second year with the Swans reserves, has got a fantastic record with the Swans. What a great career he had, 223 games. And Lee Harding, first year with the Lions, done a marvellous job with this young group. After Nathan Clark had them to the flag last year. So it'll be great to see how that unfolds. 2 real aspiring young coaches, Mark.
Well, Brisbane Lions have won the toss and they will kick to the right of screen. So we are seeing in the middle of the ground.
Well, one matchup already is Stephen Ray. Stephen Ray's been playing as a real shutdown player for the reserves, and he's got Banfield. So I'll be interested to see that because Stephen Ray's really progressed with his footy this year as one of the talent academy kids.
And a quick tip, Mark and Bob.
Swans.
I'll go the Lions, Mark, by about 15.
And it's the Lions for me as we see the opening exchanges. And it's the Sydney Swans going forward. That was head. Just overran it. Brisbane, plenty of players around the contest. That was Robinson coming through. Well tackled though. Plenty of players around the ball. And umpire Baldwin will come in and ball it up on the Sydney Swans half-forward line.
Yeah, good to see Andrew Stevens from Queensland, Jason Baldwins and Brent Pawley, the three field umpires today, mate.
So Brisbane try to bring it out of defence and just working hard. Plenty of players around the contest, almost like a rugby scrum to start proceedings, and we'll have another bounce down 50 metres out. So Longer and Head going at it there. Of course, Longer, a very good player. That's Tickner in the way for the Lions. To Stevenson, to Crisp. Just a little bit fumbly in these opening exchanges, and the ball goes out of bounds once again.
That'll be a great matchup. Aaron Cornelius, of course, noted goal kick for the Brisbane Lions, being picked up by Xavier Richards, who's played a couple of senior games this year for the Swans as a defender. Brother of Ted, of course.
Yes, of course. So, again, good linkages through the Swans. And of course, Brandon Jack joining Kieran in the senior group this week, travelling over to Perth as they take on Fremantle on the AFL preliminary final tonight. So Chris brings it away for Brisbane, up towards Lyle. No clear possession as yet, just to really work through. Here's Banfield, the co-captain, who dispossessed on that occasion. Here's Armstrong for the Swans. Goes up forward, up towards his teammate, but Burke's in there for Brisbane with a spoil. Just working under it there. Here's the Swans with a chance and finding a good target in Haddon. We'll pick up who the kicker was in just a moment, but what we do know is that Doug Haddon will have the first shot at goal for the game.
I'm pretty sure it was Lloyd Perris, who was an All-Australian under-18 boy this year, and a lot of talk at the moment about Lloyd, whether he takes up an offer with the Swans or goes into the draft. But he is a very good user of the ball.
So Haddon comes in, kick from about 30 out on the left. Coming back around, he started it right, but brings it back beautifully. And the Swans' first goal on the board.
Yeah, look, good use of the footy. Big Thomas Head, who was actually a scholarship boy for Freo, and Freo didn't take up that option with him, but he's been a real target for the Swans. One thing he will do is compete, put his body in front. That time the spoil came in, and of course Lloyd Perris, as always, at the fall of the footy. And he just lowers his eyes, Lloyd. He's not a massively long kick, but he certainly can use it. Going again, Robbo! Make good decision when he's got ball in hand.
A couple of big boys in the ruck there for Sydney, Mark. They threw doors into the first couple of bounces, and now Naismith in the centre bounce.
Big Naismith, but it was Longer. Just got the tap away, it favoured him though. And here's Haddon again, just works it forward. And working out to meet it here is Brisbane, but overrunning it. Now it was Membry. Now with Naismith, the big fella on the right foot, goes towards an open goal. Does it roll the right way? No. So 1-1. The Swans, they are away.
Yeah, look, he's had an interrupted year, Naismith, on the rookie list. Was recruited out of North Shore. So, yeah, I think he's got a bit of a future, the big fella.
He is close. Brisbane, Tickner dropped what he should have taken. O'Brien, a good contributor last week. Off to Newell, to Weirden. Just couldn't find a target. Michael, Banfield coming to meet it. Gets a run of it, dodges, weaves. Armstrong was in close attendance. The smother came. Chris now gets a handball off to Big Michael, who tries to barge over the top. Almost been a free kick there. Haddon's in there again. Plenty of players around the contest here. And so Swans trying to work it forward, and they do now to half forward. So McKeever for Brisbane is in the way there. He's with the big fella from the Swans. That was Dawes. Now Brisbane try and clear. Weirden gets the ball. It looks like Stevenson, Cameron Stevenson out there trying to find Newell. Just misses the target. Here's Lloyd for the Swans. Just wheels around. Goes up inside forward 50, was touched. Armstrong has it now, goes out wide. The Swans along the ground. The kick comes, and it comes from Plug. and it's a goal. So the Swans, 2 goals, and they are absolutely flying. Almost 5 minutes gone, first quarter.
Well, that's the thing about Tony Armstrong. He does run and carry the ball, Bobby, and on that occasion, as we see him now jogging back to the back half, he's come up the ground, and of course, I think he's now playing on Banfield. I think they've switched a bit there, but there's no doubt they'll try and free him up all day and use that run and carry. One thing the Swans will always do is lower their eyes and kick low into their forward half. And if their players present, if they don't mark it, you know the ball's always going to spill to a dangerous spot. So good start for the Sydney Swans.
They're winning those clearances too, Mark. They've really been, Lloyd and boys like that have been really good pairs around the packs.
So Naismith was over the top, no clear winner though. He lays a tackle, and butters up, and we'll have another ball up. Not far from the centre square, just on the advantage of the Sydney Swans. Longer that time, he got a hand on it. And again, lots of players around the contest, and it's a high tackle, so Brisbane will be able to get away and look for some clear disposal. And it is Pendlebury with it. Played well last week. Up towards Hayes. To Hayes, plays on quickly, looking inside forward 50. Naismith though, just chops it off. Quickly gives it off to Armstrong. They transfer the ball to the commentary side. That was Lloyd. Lloyd goes over the top to Towers. Towers, by hand, finds a target in Guthrie, who in turn gives it off to the big fella in Weir. Weir goes inside forward 50 now. Hayes is in the way for Brisbane. Here's looked like a high tackle there late, and holding the ball very quick was the decision, but he laid on top of it, did Pendlebury, and it will be Visic, the recipient of the free kick, 45 metres out from goal.
He looks like a rangy type, doesn't he? Good forward pressure, great tackle, just got down nice and low.
Notice he's an 18-year-old this year, Mark, so he's eligible for the draft this year. So he's one certainly the Swans will be looking at.
A fair cut of a kid, comes in on the right, just starts it right. No clear winner in the marking contest. It rolls out of bounds just around from the Sydney Swans goal. So 13 points the advantage, 7 minutes gone to the Swans.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see which way this breeze is going too, Mark. It seems to be going right of screen, so it's a great start by the Sydney Swans.
Just getting a chopping a foot in there was Paris. Now Crisp tries to work it through. Michael's in there as well. And coming away is Membry. So he just belts it forward. And if nothing else, he was looking for the goals. Burke was there to goal keep for the Brisbane Lions, but it beats him out over the line.
Well, in typical AFL style, basically no one past the middle of the ground down the Brisbane Lions end. Both sides pushing back, getting numbers to where the free is.
Head and longer. Ball comes out the back. Brisbane looking to win the contest and just clear this area. It was Towers there, just goes on the left, across the face of goal. Working there, that time was Paris. And the ball goes out of play and we'll have a throw in. About 15 metres around from the Swans goal. The ball comes out again. Just sharking it there nicely was Robinson off the tap and just sprays it to the left.
Yeah, rookie boy for the Sydney Swans actually played in the TAC Cup for the Oakley Chargers, Bobby. Your old stamping ground.
He'd have some good quality traits in, Mark, if he played with the Oakley Chargers, that's for sure.
Good to see loyalties and, still there, even though we are in Queensland. So close for Brisbane. Has it at half back, ball out of play, out of side, and we'll have a throw in.
Just like the way they're doing the little things, the little tackles, the tap-ons and all the little team things at this stage of Sydney Swans. They're certainly right on top as we speak.
So both sides coming off a 6-day break. So it'll be interesting to see how they work through. This is Gribble, just chucked it up for mine. The umpire says no, and it will be a free kick to Pendlebury. Just goes wider again. Finds a player.
DCR, Darcy Cameron Reeves.
Cameron Reeves did some good things last week. Goes inside, finds Wynn. He's looking for some targets. Doesn't seem to be much room out there for them. He's forced to go long up the line. Goes up towards half forward. Now the Swans come away. Going over the top there and finding Weir. Weir back through the middle of the ground. Finds a teammate who in turn looks over the top, looking for big Naismith, who's tailed now by McKeever. let go by the Lions this week and disappointing, but he's butted up the play again. Might have got one in the back. Umpire says no, so play goes on. They're working. Plenty of players around this contest. Just Brisbane trying to work it through. Here's Tickner. Just busts it over. Can't quite find a clean possession. The ball goes out of play once again.
Well, in typical Swan style, there's no clean possession, Bobby. Easy possession in the forward half for Sydney.
Warm day here at Graham Road, so we'll talk about what's going to happen with that later in the game. Looks like it might be I was going to say a holding the ball decision. Didn't look like there was too much effort being put in, but the umpire says we'll ball it up.
Yes, umpire Paul, he looked as though he's going to give that one mark, but yeah, the ball comes out now for the Lions.
So weird. Might be O'Brien even, I think. Yes, it is. Coming out the sideline, made it there. Great contest by two young players. Haddon was the one for Sydney and Cameron Stevenson. Sunshine Coast boy was the other. 10.5 minutes gone, first quarter. Swans with the advantage early on in the piece. They've done quite well. Crisp is in there, as is Longer. No clean possession. It's a little more like a bit of a state of origin than an AFL game just at the moment. Brisbane come away with it, just working his opponent off. Illegally was Cornelius, and it will be Xavier Richards for the Swans at half back. Just Banfield getting a hand in there. Archie Smith sees it over the line. We'll have a throw in right in front of us here, Mark Browning, so we'll get a good look at these stoppages.
Yeah, it's a real arm wrestle, isn't it? You just think both sides just trying to win the contested footy. I think the game will open up eventually, but at the moment it's very tight and close.
Hadn't got the kick away, but intercepted Pendlebury now. Gets it inside forward 50. Here's Richards. Had Armstrong to give it to, but ignores him, and then butchers the kick. There's Cameron Reeves there, just working through. This is Crisp, goes in board, finds O'Brien. They do have the aid of the breeze, I think. Might be worth a couple of goals. Quite blustery at parts, and goes inside forward 50 and finds, I think this is big Jordan Lyle.
Yes, it is. Look, poor use of the ball by Xavier Richards in that last passage, Bobby. He had numbers out on the far side of the ground, but just came back to where all the traffic was and, of course, couldn't find that loose player.
Yep, their matchups are going to be important. He's on Cornelius, Lockie is on Jordan Lyle, and Matthew Dick on Sam Michael. Those matchups are going to be critical for the Swans.
They have to start the left post, one would think. It hasn't started far enough out, and it's off to the right, but it is the Brisbane Lions' first score of proceedings, and we are 12.5 minutes gone.
For the Lions definitely got a bit of a breeze, but you think the scoring side is certainly the other side of the ground, bringing the ball into the forward half.
So it was an errant kick in by Armstrong. Lyle tried to intercept, and the pressure of the Swans has seen it go over the boundary line right in front of the clubhouse and right in front of the scoreboard, which sees a 13-point advantage. 13 minutes gone, first quarter.
Certainly the Lions need a lift around the packs. I think Jesse O'Brien really needs to, and Jack Crisp are the two they're really looking for to really lift the Lions around the footy.
Cornelius was in the ruck there and got the hit out. The ball goes out of bounds once again.
Both sides, I think it's more the Swans that have got the extra back, Bobby. If you look up our end of the ground here, Billy Pendlebury just sitting in the middle of the ground all by himself. So I think the Swans certainly just trying to clog up that forward half for Brisbane.
Armstrong lays a heavy tackle for the Swans. Plenty of players around the contest. Umpire pulls out a free kick. It's for high tackle, and it'll go the Swans' way. Went to Robinson, who gave it quickly to Armstrong, and he goes up looking for head, and it hit him on the knee and goes out of bounds. Brisbane's first foray. It's the first time they've had a real bit of a extended period in their forward half, so they'll be looking to capitalise here. Archie Smith there, along with Big Dawes. It's O'Brien laying a heavy tackle. And whatever happens after today, we know it is the last game of the year for these two sides. Only chance will be of any of these Swans playing next week should they progress through to the grand final. Looked like Haddon for me, away from the stoppage. Went up the line and Burt with the big fist, which he did so eloquently last week, just hit it over the line once again.
It's a real what if, isn't it? Because if there's a couple of players who might be in the mix, like Armstrong and so forth, Kanga, you think maybe they might only play a half or three quarters today, just in case. So it'll be interesting to see as the game unfolds what the Swans do with a couple of their fringe-type senior players.
So great work by Gribble, Pendlebury. The ball ended up with Whedon, I think it was. It was an absolute perler of a kick from outside forward 50, and the Lions had their first 15 minutes gone. 1-1-7, the Sydney Swans 2-2-14.
We did say, Bobby, a couple of minutes ago that the far side of the ground, when you're bringing the ball in, is where the space is, and also with the breeze, it tends to, I think, you know, you get that breeze behind your back. I think you kick it about another 20 metres from that side of the ground.
Lovely finish though by Patrick Whedon. He's had an interrupted year with the broken jaw early in the year. He's come back stronger than ever, and he's been a great contributor for the Lions right through the final series, and that certainly will lift the Lions. They needed that one for sure.
Great smother by Pendlebury and good work there by Gribble to get the ball out to enable the goal to happen for the Lions. We see another bounce down or a ball up in the middle of the ground. Archie Smith couldn't quite get his hand on it there. O'Brien overzealous in the tackle. It's a sling, and the ball will go to Lloyd for the Swans. Goes to half forward, looking for the big fella from the Swans. It might have been Head there. Good punch by Burke. He butters up now. Goes to half foot. Finds Lyle. And Lyle just goes inside forward 50. Looking for Cornelius. Good hands. In front of Brown, the Swans captain, and Cornelius will shoot for goal. And it's an area on the ground last week he kicked a few absolute belters from.
Well, that was the difference. The ball went the other way, and Thomas Head just a bit younger, not quite as strong, can't take that clean mark under pressure, goes down the other end. And this is Cornelius's bread and butter, isn't it, really?
And the goal umpire, he didn't move. And it's the Sydney Swans on the end of the Brisbane Lions goal. And it's their second, and Cornelius is first. And it's 2-1-13. The Lions playing the Swans 2-2-14. 17 minutes gone.
Lions are steadied, Kanga. They've use of the ball there was much better. Jordan Burke won the ball well at ground level, found Jordan Lyle with a nice 40-metre kick out in space, and Lyle's kick to Cornelius was, as Dennis Cometti would say, centimetre perfect.
So you have a look at the matchup on their swings, boys. Sammy Michael playing on young Guthrie. Young Guthrie's giving him about 15 centimetres in height.
Big difference in size. But it's not the bigger you are, make it the best, but certainly helps if you can run as fast as the other one. Footy smarts are the key. I think it was Big Naismith who just towed it forward. Just overrunning at that time was Weir. Gets possession of it now, gives it up to Big Naismith at centre half forward. He absolutely winds up and looks like one of my golf shots. Here's Newell for the Lions, just looking to gain possession. He goes backwards to Burke. Again, goes laterally, inboard. And that was Whedon. Goes out to the commentary side to McKeever. McKeever looks hard. Batoli Simmons this is. He butchers a kick out towards Crisp and Burke. Crisp will get there first, has time, gets around opponent, now gives it to Burke. A little bit of pressure in there, but here's Whedon. Whedon can go down the line, looks towards Big Lyle. He just works, stood underneath it because he had space, goes inside forward 50 and finds Cornelius. Great structured play once they went forward.
Gee, I love the look of Patrick Whedon, Bobby. I think he looks like an AFL player. And the Lions with Clark as well, young Clark. Gee, they've got a couple of likely types coming through as defenders. Just his run and carry, his use of the footy. And that's when Cornelius is really dangerous, when they get that flow in play and he can come at the kicker. Very hard to beat.
Cornelius going for his second. Looks like he tugged it left, and he did. The left-hand side of the goalpost, that is. So scores level.
Fully agree with that one,
2-2-14.
Mark. Patrick Whedon has been a great acquisition for the Lions, and I think he'll play plenty of senior footy at AFL level. He's a beauty.
So Armstrong kicked it in, looking for a target. Michael was in the way there, gives it to Pendlebury, give it to O'Brien, shoots for goal and kicks it. Great work, Jesse O'Brien.
Yeah, did the celebration there with the goal, and they're slowly getting on top around the ball, I'd say, and certainly they've lifted. O'Brien, Crisp, as you mentioned, Weirden, Jordan Burke, starting to get on top, and also Cornelius looks dangerous up forward for the Lions, so they have lifted.
The young bloke is having a great quarter of footy. Billy Pendlebury, he started back and now he's forward, and it's just his physicality and his pressure. It's just fantastic, Bobby, because he's had a few injuries over the years, Billy, and he's certainly the last month of footy's been terrific for him.
Another errant bounce, and Pendlebury's he's certainly been in the thick of it this first quarter, and it was very good last week as well in the Northern Conference final. Ball back in the middle, Longer got the advantage. Robinson's in there, tackled by the goal kicker. That time in O'Brien. Now it's Whedon over the top to Newell. He's pursued. That time by Paris. Gets it inside forward 50 though, and it was Archie Smith just holding on to it long enough for the umpire to say that's a mark. So he can go back and take a shot for goal. Very similar to Aaron Cornelius' spot.
It was interesting last week, he ended up handballing from a similar position. They ended up with a goal with Darcy Cameron Reeves last week. Let's see how he goes this week, Mark. You call it through.
Stuttering approach, kicks it high, looking for rain. Didn't quite have the accuracy or distance. Michael just sharks it off the pack. No Swans were there to defend. And Michael kicks the Lions 4, 21 minutes gone, 4-2-26. The Sydney Swans 2-2-14.
Not a lot of people know that Sammy Michael lives with you, Bob, and he doesn't leave much on the plate. He picks up every crumb, so he's taken that literally there. Gee, nearly the biggest bloke on the ground. He crumbed that beautifully at the back of the pack.
Yeah, he read it well, Mark, and yes, look, he doesn't leave a scrap or a skerrick on the plate. He's very good at cleaning the plates too. So, no, great young boy. He's had a couple of good years, and hopefully he's got a career ahead of him at the Brisbane Lions.
I think the Lions have probably kicked 4 in probably the last 8 or 9, 10 minutes of the quarter.
That's right. So, Bob Batty here looking a little bit slimmer, courtesy of Sam Michael. And the Lions are away again. It's O'Brien, smothered that time by Dawes. And here's Paris, tries to get it through. Lloyd ends up on the chain and kicks it forward, and Jordan Burke is there to defend just backward of centre half back. Goes wide, finds Lyle. Fair bit up the ground, fair way up the ground. Doesn't have an option. Look for a big target, but can't find one, so decides to go back and find Burke. Burke, though, can go laterally on the outer side, find Pendlebury. As we mentioned, he's had a bit of it. On the left foot this time. Not a bad kick. Michael drops what he should have taken. Doesn't do so on the dinner plate. Wrapped up there well. Was the Brisbane Lion player. I think it might have been Stevenson, perhaps. And it was Paris who will be paid the free kick. He goes quickly. Inside forward 50. Pendlebury was there. Also was Burke. Here's Darcy Reeves. Gives to Burke quickly. Taken high, though, was Burke, and he will take the free kick inside the defensive 50.
Gee, what about Darcy Reeves' attack on the footy there? Just fantastic.
So Brisbane bring it out. The kick fell short of Michael. Was good to pick it up, though. Goes short. Finds a target this time in close. So Michael close. About 60 out. Goes looking for Newell. Just overshoots the target. The Swans are in there. That was Plug in there trying to work through. And the umpire might come in and ball it up, will he? No, the ball comes out. That was Gribble, gets it backwards. This one ends up with Stevenson. Goes backwards.
Gribble that was.
Might be Gribble. O'Brien underneath it, crashing through was Lyle. He has absolutely poleaxed his own teammate. Here's Lyle again. Goes around the corner, looks on target. How does it bounce? Takes the off spin or the leg spin up. And through for another point.
There's no doubt when the Swans shut it down, they look more competitive, but gee, once the ball gets into a bit of space, the Lions certainly look very dangerous.
Ball's coming over the back from the kick in. Here's Tickner, just feigns a handball, can find a bit of space now, goes back inside forward 50, looking for Cornelius. Richard was the spoiler, along with Lockyer, and the ball out of bounds in front of the scoreboard. 24 minutes gone, 13 points the advantage of the Brisbane Lions.
Yeah, I think Jesse O'Brien might have a headache for the rest of the day after Jordan Lyle just landed right on his scone there on the melon, but he looks like he's brushed himself off.
So Stevenson tried to get rid of it, and the umpire says you did not make enough of an effort, and the Swans will take the free kick 30 metres in, out from the Brisbane Lions goal. They go laterally, just run into trouble there almost with Brown. Goes over the top, here's Lockyer, he's got plenty of space. So they're outside defensive 50, only just picks up the line and finds Matthew Dick. He goes back inside defensive 50, looking for Richards. They're just looking to open some space up here and just struggling to do so. Back out to Lockyer. Almost got it where he had it, sorry, might be Matthew Dick again. Had it where he, just before. Goes up the line this time, here's Haddon. Haddon on the left foot. Looking for a target and Big Weir. Straight through his mitts. Lyle just gets it with plenty of space. Over the top to Michael, he's played on now. Hard running here from Chris. Made a habit of it last week. Gets around Ray. And goes inboard, looking for the big target and close.
Great bit of play there by Jack Crisp, the Myrtlefoot Mauler, I call him. He's had a fantastic latter part of the season with the Brisbane Lions, and that was just great play. He sold the dummy to Ray, and then a perfect pass that gave Michael Close the chance from 25 metres out. Mark.
Yeah, well, look, the Swans certainly had the opportunity on the far side of the ground to run it up, but they're just hitting a bit of a brick wall, and on the rebound on that occasion, as I said before, I think the Lions look a lot better when the ball's in a bit of space.
So Close, 9 disposals last week, 2 goals. Can he add his first for today? Looks straight, it is. So the Lions are away. 19 points ahead now, 5-3-33. The Swans, 2-2-14, 26 and a half minutes gone.
It just seems to be, Bobby, maybe it's the wind, it's a little bit harder to run the ball up to the left of screen, but it just seems to be there's a little bit of a brick wall across the Brisbane Lions half-back line. Just not getting the ball in deep, are they, really, on very few occasions?
Yeah, true. I think that they've had a couple of chances, though, out in front with their hands, as you mentioned, Weir, and earlier than that, the boy at full forward head had the opportunity to take those marks, and in the end, they've turned it over and it's cost them goals both times. So they need to hold those marks when they're hitting up players running towards them.
So the Brisbane Lions, 19 points ahead. We are approaching quarter time. And another errant bounce. Difficult in conditions here, even for the umpires to get it down straight up and down in the middle. We'll go again. Longer and Naismith. Crisp is there again. Tries to give it to O'Brien. Jaffa Williams tried to come through, as did Lloyd. And Tickner to young fellow, I think it was Cameron Reeves. In there also was for Radford. Brisbane was Radford. He was good last week. Lloyd just gets it for Sydney forward here. Jaffa Williams couldn't quite take it with him. Batoli Simmons just went in head first, and no free kick, and we'll have a throw up just on the point of the square, attacking end for the Sydney Swans. Ball comes out. Here's Tickner. Lions Academy play. Goes over the top to Radford. Run down nicely, and a great tackle there by Plug, and he will take the kick. Goes inside forward 50, over the top of Weir. Kept in though nicely. Here's Hiscock around the footy. Ball beats him though, out of bounds. We'll have a throw in, 10 metres around from the Swans goal.
Actually, the crowd's built up here a little bit too, Kangaroo, especially around the Aspley Social Club area. Handy little crowd.
Naismith has front spot. Just got in front of Longer there. There's plenty of players around this contest. Working through there hard. It might have been Cameron Reeves. And the ball goes out of bounds. Once again, McKeever was there for the Lions also.
It's been a while since the Swans have scored, Bobby.
Yeah, it is a strong breeze. I think they started good out of the blocks, but they certainly need to regroup at quarter time mark and, as you say, stop the run of the Lions.
Longer to Crisp. Now outside defensive 50, but not clean, you'd say. Just being able to mop up there was Ray, but he couldn't do so effectively. Now here they come. That was Gribble in the way. Tackled by Ray again. The big fella there, I think it might have been Naismith, was in the way. There is Lockyer, just trying to go over the top. Now it ends up with Yaron Williams. He can go over the top to Hiscock. So Hiscock just scrubs inside forward 50. Pendlebury just put a saddle on there by Weir.
Could be in trouble, mate.
He is in trouble. That's holding the ball. The Swans fraternity go up. They're not big, but they showed a bit of voice then.
Yeah, kick from where he is, Jordan Weir. Actually played a lot of footy as a defender with the New South Wales ACT Rams in the under-18s last year, so rangy type.
He's going to have a chance to cover himself in a bit of glory at quarter time as we heard the siren go. Comes in. It'll have to be a mighty kick from here. Does so right on the forward 50. It's got the accuracy but not the distance. So at quarter time, the Swans got out of the blocks. They are 2-2-14, but the Lions overhauled them as the quarter progressed. They lead 5-3-33. It's a 19-point margin. We are here for the NEAFL Grand Final. It is the Sydney Swans against the Brisbane Lions. And Mark Browning, your thoughts on that first quarter?
Oh, no, look, I think the Swans, there was no doubt the Brisbane Lions had the bruise, and for the first 10 to 12 minutes, the Swans certainly were able to shut the game down and not allow that run and carry. That I think is the key, especially when you've got a bit of a bruise. Their midfield were very competitive, big Naismith in the ruck. I think where the brick wall happened was certainly when they were going forward. They just seemed to lack a target, Bob. Look, there's young Thomas Head, and Membry, who's been a good player, but he seems to be a bit in between. I think Patrick Widden, of course, doing a great job. But no, look, and then when the game opened up, I think that's what the Lions have got to do. They've got to spread the space, use the ball quick, and that's when all of a sudden, as we know, Cornelius will come into the ground. And I think they kicked maybe the last five goals for the quarter, Bob.
They did. They kicked the last 5 after giving the Swans 2 start. But yeah, look, they've certainly had some good players, and the Swans really need to regroup quarter time.
So we'll be back to dissect a little bit more of that first quarter and a live action in the second. It is the Lions by 19 points here at this NEAFL Grand Final. And welcome back to Graham Road, Aspley, the scene of the NEAFL Grand Final between the Brisbane Lions and the Sydney Swans. It's 19 points the advantage to the Lions at quarter time. Joining me, Mark Kennedy, is Mark Browning and Bob Batty. And Bob, the Lions are kicking with what I would think of maybe a 2-goal breach. Do you think that's a pass, Mark, in that first quarter?
Yeah, I think it's about a 3-goal breeze, but certainly the way they played the back end of that quarter, the Swans are going to have to lift their work rate to really get some ascendancy early in this quarter. The breeze doesn't just do it for you. They've got to really lift their work rate and start hitting up their targets.
So ball back in the middle. Naismith and Longer. We'll give that one to Naismith, but O'Brien had his kick smothered. We see the umpire go down there. It was Newell that knocked him over. An accident, of course. Paris comes away. Here's Lockyer off half back, going over the top. Hiscox was in the way of their Lloyd, but managed to sort it out. And Lloyd now goes inside forward 50, just leaping high off 2 feet there. Terrific mark. I think it might be Membry.
Yeah, it is Membry.
He's got bucket hands, this kid. I can remember him last year at the draft camp, Mark. He tested well. He's a strong, built like an ox, and certainly he'll get the distance here and just the accuracy.
Swans certainly draft kids to. It's like that transition of replacing someone, and you think he might be the type of boy that might replace a Ryan O'Keefe in time.
Goes long, kicks it nicely, started left, it drifted back straight over the goal umpire's head. So a minute gone in this second quarter, and it's the Swans, the first blow on the scoreboard. So they move to 3-2-20. The Lions, 5-3-33.
Well, I think that's the difference. I think into the breeze, Membry certainly played a bit higher, Bob, and Patrick Widden came into the game, but as you can see here, not sure if you can see it on the television yet, but his starting position is certainly a little bit deeper now that the Swans are kicking with a bit of a breeze.
Yeah, he's a talented kick. He remember for Gippsland Power, he kicked 5 or 6 to get them back into the grand final last year against the Oakley Chargers. A good player.
A beautiful bounce on that occasion. Nobody can get a hand on it, and we'll have another chance for a stoppage. Naismith just did well there. Kick smothered the Swans. Coming through that time was Radford. again, plenty of players around the contest as the way it started in that first quarter. Just looking for ascendancy, that arm wrestle. And we'll have another ball up, this time to the advantage of the Brisbane Lions from the centre circle.
Just can't quite get into the game, young Lewis Radford. He's got a ton of speed, but every time he's got it, he seems to be closed down. But looking for him to get some open spaces and show his speed today, Kanga.
Gribbles wrapped up that time by Guthrie. Another ball up. Naismith and Longer. This time Naismith. Looked like a high tackle there. Should have gone the Swans' way. And now the kick will go their way as was the throw. So Naismith gives it off to a teammate who in turn goes inside forward 50. Looking for the big players there. Towers just overran it. Here's Newell. Just sneaky handball over the back. Ball ends up there. I think it might be close. Here's Crisp. Back to close. Shepherd applied by Newell. Goes up on the left foot, up towards Michael, and good hands there by Michael. At half forward now, goes inside forward 50. This is close up there, so I must have got the player wrong back there a little bit further. Here's Banfield injecting himself. Goes off to Longer, just stands in the tackle. Gives it off. That time, chain of handballs, now back with Michael. Goes further backwards and finds Burke, who can open it up. He goes further afield. Finds Gribble on the outer side. Has Pendlebury over the top. Pendlebury on centre wing now, outer side. Looking for a player up there. Might be Darcy Reeves. And it goes out of play. We'll have a throw in.
Luke Rogerson, I think.
Rogerson.
The boy from Redland.
The boy from Redlands. Forward pocket specialist. I think for Redlands in the time I saw him.
Yeah, he kicked some goals throughout the year and had a very good development year with the Redland team.
So Longer, clever hit out over the back. Couldn't quite capitalise on it. They turned it over and the Swans kick it forward, although it ends up with Pendlebury once again. Here's McKeever. Sorry, it's not McKeever. Anyway, it's Burke this time.
Hold him up, Jack.
Now finds Michael. Michael, just at centre half back there, goes over the top, dangerous kick. It was looking for McKeever. This time it's Darcy Reeves. Couldn't quite take it. Batoli, Simmons, Butters up there. All the young fellas for the Brisbane Lions having a crack and going in solidly. And it was Jaffa Williams for the Swans who applied the tackle. We'll have a ball up, centre wing.
It was an important gather there by Darcy Cameron Reeves. They were in strife, he didn't get that mark.
Newell to McKeever to Michael, just chips it over the top and finds Darcy Reeves. Has a short target up the line. It's Cornelius in front of Lockyer. Goes long inside forward 50. Doesn't quite get a run at it. Does Lyle. And mopping up was Paris. So Paris can go backwards. Good teammate who in turn looked for Robinson but overshot it. Tickner and his handball smothered. Here's Robinson again. Plenty of fumbling going on out there, but now in clean possession is Armstrong. Can go in board. Here's Haddon, the first goal kicker of the game. He can play on. Go forward. Not sure what Weirden was doing there. Just let him go. So he goes forward. Long. And just errant. Just an indication of the breeze though. And the carry on the ball. And it's a point to the Swans. 6 minutes gone. 12 points is the margin the Lions favour.
He had to hesitate there because Big Sam Michael was sitting back in the hole, and it actually worked in his favour because he had to walk, weave and carry, but still didn't get that clean shot. So good defensive pressure and getting back and helping by Sam Michael. He's actually been playing on a wing.
So good defensive pressure on that occasion also from the Sydney Swans. So they've been able to keep it in their attacking area. It is 55 metres around from their goal. So we'll see Archie Smith and Naismith, the two Smiths of sorts. Armstrong lays a tackle, a heavy tackle, and umpire Stevens will ball it up 60 metres out from goal.
I think certainly around the packs, Lloyd and Robinson have lifted early in this quarter, Kanga, and O'Brien and Crisp are going to be quieter. So they're starting to get on top of around the packs here, the Swans.
Plenty of players around the contest. Armstrong bursts through, just scrubs it forward. Nobody can get a hand on it. The Swans, Crawford's around the contest, working through. Tickner lays a tackle, forces a turnover. Weirden to McKeever, to Crisp. That was off. Chain of handballs. Here's Gribble. Gives it to Pendlebury. Couldn't quite find a target. They scrub it now. Here's Archie Smith, who's tackled as soon as he gets it. Ball in the middle of the ground now. Plenty of players around the contest. Umpire should nearly ball it up. No, it comes out now. Haddon for the Swans. Just scrubs it forward. Hayes leads the race going backwards. They're coming out to meet it though for the Swans. There was Big Head. And the Lions bring it away. Guthrie goes off to a teammate. Ends up down there looking for Cornelius. And I think the kick came from, might have been Weirden even.
Yeah, Weirden and Hayes on that back flank are strong contributors for the Lions. Every week they play, they do a really good job, Kanga.
Here's Gribble over the top to Rogerson. On the left foot, goes deep inside forward 50. Lyle was the target. Good body work. Might be the Swans coming away here. Lloyd. The kick didn't find him. Just fumbly there was Lockyer. Lyle has a kick at goals just to the near side. So that is the Brisbane Lions' first score for this second quarter. And they are 13 points ahead on the scoreboard. 8.5 minutes gone.
I just noticed that Hayes has moved on to Daniel Robinson to try and quieten him down for this second part of the second quarter.
Big Naismith goes down the line.
It's just not a lot of run and carry from the Swans, especially when the ball's kicked forward. Their midfield aren't pushing. I think Tony Armstrong, he's coming to the contest now. He's got to start getting more of the footy up higher and try and break the lines a little bit, get the ball in deeper to Membray.
So throw in. No clear winner in the contest. Michael's there for Brisbane. Ball goes out of bounds. We see Dawes back in the ruck for Brisbane going up against his number counterpart. Identical number in Archie Smith. Don't mind Archie Smith actually. Very athletic young man. We won't give a clear hit out. The 253s go at it. That's Pendlebury for the Lions. Mops it up there. This time, that was Radford around the contest also. Bertoli Simmons was there. Here's Pendlebury again. And just getting the kick away were the Brisbane Lions, but only as far as Ray. The ball goes inside forward 50. McKeever drops it. Lurking is Jaffet Williams. Might have held on too long. There's Bertoli Simmons. Looked like a push in the back, but stolen there beautifully there by Plug. And he kicks his second for the Lions. So 10 minutes gone. And it's, sorry, for the Swans, I should say. And it's the Swans 4-3, 4-3-27. The Brisbane Lions 5-4-34, 7 points, 10 minutes gone.
Well, exactly what we were saying before, Bobby, where on that occasion Stephen Ray took the mark, got the ball to space, but more importantly, little Jaffa Williams went like a cut cat, didn't he? He showed real acceleration to get to the contest, laid the tackle, ball spilled, he had to get up, he bounced up, he laid another tackle, ball spilled, and a terrific finish. But that's what's been lacking in their game, is just that pressure when the ball's gone over their head. Haven't been able to been prepared to run down and put some pressure on to lock the footy in.
Kick to space is certainly the key there, Mark, for sure. And they've lifted the Swans. They're really right back in this contest.
Here's O'Brien, takes it out of the centre, looking for a target. Couldn't quite find one. It was close he was looking for. Here's O'Brien again. Players hot in his hammer. Here's Haddon. Gets it off this time to Crawford. Goes inside forward 50. Just edging his opponent under the ball and taking a good mark was Burke. And giving away a free 50-metre penalty as well. So not quite sure what that one was for, but we will see. Jordan Burke.
It's just interesting, isn't it? When the 50-metre penalty was brought in initially, as we know, when they were players being held, not released. On that occasion, Burke was able to kick to a free target. He just wonders sometimes. But anyhow, it is what it is.
A good kick, though, to close at half forward. Looking for a big target in Lyle and takes it eventually. This looked very casual in front of Xavier Richards, but good enough to hold on to it with a few grabs.
Just like the kicking skills of Jordan Burke. He's mainly played as a forward, as a junior, but they've used him predominantly in the back half, deep defence this year, and he's certainly had a great development year, and some of his kicks today have been very good.
Former Hawk Lyle just kicks it to the left, doesn't make the distance and goes out of bounds. I thought for a fleeting second that Cornelius might have got his hands on it inside.
He was trying to claim it.
Absolutely, every full forward would. Armstrong has the ball now, goes out to the far side. I think it's Weir. Hard to see. Need to turn around. You can see the numbers. Might be Towers out there. And the Swans come away. Trying to find Lockyer in the middle of the ground. Sold into trouble. Good tackle by Banfield. Ball scrubs away again. Armstrong's get it. He racked him up last week. He gets it off to Lloyd on this occasion. Now they can go long inside forward 50. Looking for a big target in Towers. Just working hard to try and get to the crumbs. There was Crawford, and the ball went out of bounds. So offensive 50 for the Sydney Swans. 13 minutes gone, 7 points in favour of the Lions.
Wasn't a great option by Lloyd. He had a couple of loose plays. Just needed to lower his eyes on that occasion.
So Longer got the clear tap away. O'Brien's around the ball, tackled well there by Dawes. And Radford scrubbed the kick forward. Weir got a big fist on it. Michael comes over the top with a fist of his own. There was Rogerson. Copped a high one according to the umpire. And will take the free kick. Swans not happy with that one though.
No, he had his head down right from the start. And some of these young fellas are showing a bit of courage today, Bobby. Rogerson, I've been impressed with Radford. He's certainly been a bit harder at the footy than he was earlier in the year.
Yeah, Tickner, Pendlebury, they're all showing a little bit today. Certainly Darcy Cameron-Reeves, as he did last week, has been in the play as well.
So Burke absolutely butchers the ball, and the Swans have it.
After the rap by Bobby.
And it was
Didn't
Brown.
that's what happens every time.
Brown, and he's given it off to Lockyer. Goes forward. Doesn't look like too many players in the way there. Good spoil. Whedon gave it to Crisp. Back to Gribble, who in turn just goes defensively and finds Longer, who in turn goes to Pendlebury. Gonna have to kick it well, go over the top of Jaffa Williams to the big target, Michael. Good spoil and good pressure by Jaffa Williams, and the ball goes out of play 55 metres around from the Swans' goal.
Good effort there by Jaffa Williams. He would give away about 20 or 30 centimetres, I reckon, there to Sammy Michael. He did well.
Same in weight.
Yeah, did well to get it to the ground and cause a throw-in.
Longer from the back. Here's Robinson, wrapped up by Hayes. Just trying to work through. Here's the Swans. Just trying to find a target. Might be Lloyd underneath there. And we'll have another ball up. 35 metres out from the Swans' goal.
Lions need a lift from Toddy Banfield, the Cape captain. He's been very quiet today, well held by his Sydney Swans counterpart. Need a real lift from him in the next few minutes before half-time.
Here's Lloyd, bustled off it by O'Brien. Close to the boundary line, and we'll have yet another stoppage. So 15 minutes gone, 7 points the Lions lead by. And one senses that the Swans are just trying to make this an absolute wrestle all the way through now. Longer gets a tap. Jaffa Williams was in there, wrapped up well by Radford. And another ball up again.
Lloyd Perris doing a good stopping role on Jack Crisp this quarter too, Kanga. He hasn't been sighted all that much, Jack, but yeah, good effort from Lloyd Perris. A lot of talent, Mark.
Here's Haddon. Gives it to Membry. Goes long over the top. Is it accurate? Oh, just hits the post. Got a bit of purchase once it hit the ground and tried to turn around through the goals, but couldn't quite do so. The Swans advanced by another point.
It was like a Shane Warne leg top spinner there, the way it came back, Kanga, but unfortunately hit the woodwork.
So plenty of players around the contest here again. Just off the ground. Oh, Armstrong can't quite mop it up. Cornelius was down there, applied the pressure. Haddon came through. Good tackle by O'Brien. What will the umpire say? Now, one was calling for the back. The other team calling for the ball. 8 points the difference. Here's Haddon again. Goes towards centre half forward. That was Perris underneath it who kicked it forward. Just mopping it up here. There's his Towers. Goes off to Jaffa Williams. He can go over the top. Doesn't kick it high enough. And it's Whedon who chops it off for the Lions. Kicks it long outside defensive 50. He's got Gribble by himself. Darcy Williams provides a short leave. Archie Smith a long one. They go over the top again, looking for Michael and Cornelius. Cornelius just gathers, gets a handball now, deft touch. Cameron Reeves just gets a quick one forward. Smith is well wrapped up by Naismith. They've gone together, just working hard there. He got a fist in. Here's Banfield, well tackled there by Ray. And ball out of bounds right in front of the Sydney Swans coaching box.
Yeah, they're really locking them down pretty well now, the Sydney Swans. They're finding it hard to get free at all, the Brisbane Lions. So it's a great comeback and fight back this quarter by the Swans.
Good tackle by Naismith. So the umpire says, has a good look at it, and he says, I'll ball it up almost right on top of the beautiful NEAFL logo here on this commentary side wing. Here's Lloyd, he was in it, and Armstrong's there now as well. And Ruck and Maul, with Rogerson in there as well. Seemed to be going forever that till the umpire blew his whistle. 18 minutes gone, second quarter. NEAFL Grand Final, Sydney Swans and Brisbane Lions on NEAFL TV, NEAFL.com. Here's Membry, gives it off to Armstrong, tries to bust through a tackle and just does. Newell tried to get through as well. Here's Bradford, goes up the line, close to the boundary line. Good courage going backwards there by Paris, and he'll take the mark.
That's his trademark play, that.
Yeah, fantastic courage, Kanga, and showed why the Sydney Swans have got a rap on that young kid.
Dicey kick. Eventually ends up with the Swans. Go to centre half forward. McKeever stands his ground, look to be injured. Here's Hiscock, goes over the top. And Membry, who's worked his way beautifully back to the attacking area, will take a shot at goal. McKeever hasn't moved too far.
Yeah, he popped one a bit high there, but again, there's courage in marking contests, but also courage to run. And on that occasion, the Swans certainly ran hard to the forward ball, which we said earlier in the quarter they weren't doing.
Yes!
He's
Yes!
good shape and size, isn't he?
Yes!
Membry, Bobby.
Yeah, no, he's looks like one of those big timber mill, sons of a timber miller down in Gippsland for sure. And look at that, right through the high diddle. He's a chip off the old block young Tim Membray. That's his second.
You're bringing them all out now, Bobby.
Yep, and that's
Chip off the old block.
only 2 points now in it, Kanga.
Approaching 20 minutes gone, the margin, as Bob Batty said, back to 2 points, 5-5-35. The Sydney Swans 5-3-33. And have you seen McKeever come off, boys? Just in front of us while that was all happening. He certainly looked in a bit of trouble. We can't see him out there either, so we'll try and keep an eye on Niall McKeever, the Irishman, as we see the ball go back to the middle of the ground.
I think he copped one in the side near the eye area, Kanga, so hopefully he's not too badly injured and can come back after half-time.
Longer gets high, crisp. Best on ground last week, just manages only on this occasion under pressure to kick the ball straight to Armstrong for the Swans. Good mark that time by Lloyd. He's come into the game nicely. Just forward of centre. Commentary side wing. Kicks it up towards Membry. And a good mark in front of Whedon, and he can take another shot for goal.
The other one's been handy, Bob, is no doubt Tony Armstrong's coming with the game a fair bit last 10 minutes. Young Lloyd's having a good quarter as well.
Yeah, I like their run and carry of Lloyd and also Daniel Robinson, another one of their listed players. And as you said, Tony Armstrong's lifted this quarter. But this kid, you could just about, I know it's a tight angle, Kanga, but you'd want to back him the way he's kicking it. Tell you what.
Kicked it, it's just gone across the face, so he's given it the chance to come back with the breeze, so you can't blame him too much. It's just a slight misjudgment from that point of view. So 1 point the margin now in favour of the Brisbane Lions. It won't be a long quarter, we haven't had a lot of scores. We have played 21 minutes, so we'll work it through as we see Burke, big pack of players, and the ball knocked out of bounds, so still in the Swans attacking half.
Well, we did say that it looked like about a 2 or 3 goal breeze, and by the scoreboard, you would say that's been pretty correct. Certainly to the right of the screen, it's been the scoring end in both quarters.
Lions haven't been able to kick a goal against the breeze. The Swans did in the first quarter. Here's Brown, gives it to Haddon. Haddon, indiscriminate kick forward to Lyle. Lyle looking for targets and finds one nicely and crisp. just outside defensive 50. He can kick short, goes to O'Brien. Players all start to drift from that defensive end forward. There's a kick, mismatch there, close went high over Haddon. Applying the pressure was Ray, and the ball goes out of bounds. This time, half forward for the Brisbane Lions.
Yeah, like the work of Stephen Ray. He's really closed down there on Banfield, and just a good disciplined effort there to get the ball out of bounds as close look like winning possession.
Dawes will give that one to him. Swans just working forward quickly, under pressure. Burke's underneath it and does it well. He has a player in board who calls for it. It's Jordan Lyle. Membry's in hot pursuit. Now he's got a chance to put a bit of pressure on. Great tackle by him. The umpire says, holding the ball. Terrific work, Tim Membry.
Wasn't
he'll
a great
go back.
kick by Burke. Was it just the wrong side of him where you had to wait for it?
Goes up towards the big boy.
Thomas Head.
And that is Tom Head. And he will go and have a shot for goal.
Just beautiful precision kick, wasn't it, from Tim Membray? He worked hard to win the free kick, and then just a beautiful user of the football. That was perfect for Thomas Head, and he needs to, this will give him a bit of confidence, young Tom Head. He's been down in confidence in the first quarter and a half.
Big unit to put the Swans in front if he's accurate, and he's just kicked it to the right, so scores dead level.
Even with his marking, Bobby, he's just a bit of a two-grabber. And look, he's only a young fella. He's, he's playing in a big final here. It's all about development. But he presents, he puts his body in front. He's just got to get a little bit stronger, a little bit cleaner with that marking. And of course, once he starts setting out, the confidence will come with his kicking.
So Whedon goes long from defence. It was longer up high. And the ball gone out of bounds. And 24 minutes gone, scores level.
Well, the promoters, Kanga, they certainly love the scoreboard right now.
Certainly, and
Another point each and they'll be level, Kanga.
comedy provided by Bob Batty.
The old Robbie Hull quotes.
Stealing at that time from the contest was Crisp. Just judging the ball nicely was Cornelius. Nearly took a good mark. Here's close, busting through. Got through a couple. Gives it backwards. Went to Rogerson. Kicks nice and short. Finds Newell. Newell look for Cameron Stevenson. I believed in the first instance. Went over the top of him. And then came into the grasp of Michael, but punched away from him. And we'll have another throw in. 35 around from the Brisbane Lions goal. They haven't had it in there too much this quarter. The Swans win the hit out. Hiscox to Armstrong. Just scrubs it outside. Head and Lyle. This time Burke can mop up at the back. Gives it to Longer quickly. Darcy Reeves just took it opportunistically. Kicks it long inside forward 50. Smith was underneath it. Almost took a good courageous mark. Here's Brown. He can mop up. Goes backwards to Armstrong. Gives it off to a teammate. It's kick smothered to Weir. They're just messing around with the footy here a little bit at the moment. And Lockyer sprays it and goes out of bounds on the full. I just saw him reach for his hamstring as well at the same time. We'll keep an eye on that one as we see the ball with Lyle.
Being moved behind the footy by Lee Harding, Jordan Lyle. He's done that a few times in games this year, certainly against other AFL clubs, Lee, and he's stalwart in Lyle has always come good with the goods.
Lyle to Burke to Newell. Goes wide. As a target. Hard to see from our commentary box here. It's Radford. Goes inside. Big pack of players come up. Big fly that time from close. Working through is Archie Smith. Got a handball away. But too late, says the umpire, and the Swans can mop up. So here's Ray. Ray gives it to a teammate who in turn goes close to the line in front of the Swans box. Lyle gives it to Pendlebury. Just in front of Thomas Head, I should say. And it is a high tackle. And it will now go against Newell and go to Towers. No, it won't. Original free kick will stand. and it will be Radford who takes the kick. So interesting little passage of play, showing a little bit of angst.
Yeah, so he was a bit frustrated there, Richard Newell. He's tackled high after he kicked it, but he's lucky to get away with that. It could have been reversed easily.
Ball goes over the top. Long is down deep forward. Rogerson's in there. The good tackle there from the Sydney Swans. We'll see. Umpire Baldwin just ball it up 15 metres out from the Lions' goal. Plenty of players around the contest. No real clear winner. Dawes works it forward. Coming through there was Stevenson, I think it was. Good contest. Might have been Bertoli Simmons even, because Stevens has laid the tackle on Robinson. Tickner just slipped the toe in. Bertoli Simmons is overrun it on this occasion as we hear the halftime siren go, and it's dead even, dead level. So, wasn't it an advantage that first quarter to bruise the Lions? You'd say no, because the Sydney Swans answered 5-5, 35 apiece. And to wrap up proceedings, a little bit of commentary will be Mark Browning and Bob Batty.
I just think it just seemed to be, especially the last 5 or 6 minutes, both sides tried to shut the game down a little bit and just wouldn't allow the opposition to score. But look, fantastic first half of footy. Some of the key players, certainly in that quarter, I thought that Chris did go out of the game a little bit. He was dominant early. The ruck battle's been, I think, about even. But it just seems to be when either side gets a little bit of a run and carry and a bit of a break and get a flow of play that they score, and then all of a sudden the game gets shut down for another 5 or 6 minutes. And when you look around the ground, both sides are pretty even. Look, I've been wrapped in some of the younger players for both sides. I think Radford's nearly played his best game of the year, Bob, so far. I know he played all right last week, but I think the courage he's shown at the footy. Archie Smith's done a bit. And for the Swans, I've been really wrapped in Stephen Ray. I think he's had a terrific game. Banfield and a couple of the others he's played on have done very little. But I just feel it's that team that's going to do the hard running between the lines to get to the fall of the ball in this second half that's going to be the difference. So terrific game, nice and tight. That's what we want to see in the NEAFL Grand Final.
Yeah, certainly Kangaroo. The Swans, great effort in that quarter to fight back. I thought their courage and their ability to lock down their opponents and really defend heavily in that second quarter has got them right back into the game, and it's all locked up at half time. He couldn't get a better result.
But I must say, just quickly before we do sign off, it is actually the goal umpires have conferred they did get a point around the wrong way on the scoreboard. It is actually the Sydney Swans holding sway, 5-6-36, the Lions 5-4-34. We'll be back with the second half of this NEAFL Grand Final here at Graham Road, Aspley. And welcome back for the NEAFL Grand Final. It is the second half between the Brisbane Lions and the Sydney Swans. It's the Sydney Swans by 2 points, 5-6-36 to the Brisbane Lions 5-4-34. And joining me here in commentary, Mark Kennedy with you, also Mark Browning and Bob Batty, as we see the second half get underway. Big Naismith gets his hand on the football. O'Brien was under there for the Brisbane Lions, and we'll have another ball up. So Mark and Bob, the breeze really has gusted up. Has it, in your opinion, gone to any greater heights than 2 to 3 goals?
I still reckon 3-goal breeze. The Lions really need to lift start of this third quarter and really put an imprint on the game. They've kicked 5 in 15 minutes of footy virtually to stay in this game at half time, so they really need to lift in the second half, Mark.
So Lockyer from defence, he won a free kick. Here's Darcy Reeves, a good mark from the young man, and a good kick inside forward 50 to Close. So Close thinks he's too far out to score, goes towards Michael, good hands on the lead, and he will take a shot for goal and a good opening for the Brisbane Lions.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what they're doing here, Bob, because it seems spent a lot of his time in the first half on the wing. Pushed him deep forward, and just that extra marking target might be a little bit too much for the Sydney Swans defence.
Yeah, look, it's a good move by Lee Harding. Yeah, Alex Brown's given away a little bit of bulk and size to Big Sammy. Let's see if he can finish it with a nice, accurate kick.
Goes for goal. He tugs it left, and it is the first score for the second half, and it is a minor one. So the margin now 1 point to the Brisbane Lions as we see Armstrong bring it in for the Sydney Swans. He gets it back and now can go long outside his defensive 50. Good spoil there from Lyle. Mopping up, there's Robinson. Gives it to the big fella Naismith, who evades a couple. To Haddon, to Armstrong with good run. Goes over the top now, finds Thomas Head on the left foot. Goes high. There's Tickner trying to spoil, but a beautiful mark. A good contested mark on that occasion.
I think it's Dean Towers, isn't
And it might be Towers. Yes, it is.
Yeah, he needs a lift for the Swans, Dean Towers. Been very quiet in the first half, but great hands there, like under the pump, and a good mark inside 50 and good movement of the ball. And Tony Armstrong winning a lot of the footy and setting them up from deep defence.
35 possessions last week, Armstrong. He was prolific. And of course helped set up this opportunity for Dean Towers to come in. A good goal against the Breeze if it comes back. It is offline though, so wasted opportunity for the Sydney Swans. They re-established that 2-point margin that they held at half-time.
Roscoe! Hold us!
Brisbane Lions bring it back in. This time it's Newell. And go over the top. Find Pendlebury. Pendlebury on the left foot. Squeezes it up the line to Hayes. Hayes goes quickly, goes inboard. Looking for Tickner. Can't quite find it. He was reaching over the top. And it might be Haddon, who's had a very good first half actually, boys.
Yeah, no,
Who
played
takes the
very
kick.
well.
Yeah.
Very well.
First goal of the game.
Just a good user of the footy too, and a good decision maker. And yeah, look, he's been a surprise packet for me, young Haddon.
So Lockyer goes to half forward. Nobody can take the mark. Towers is in the way there, well tackled. And there's Robinson. Newell had a hold of, might have been Newell had a hold. And just ending up with the ball inside forward 50 now is Membry.
I think the Swans will certainly go out of the way to try and get the ball in this guy's hands, Bobby. He came into the game in the second quarter, but I just really felt in the first quarter, you know, no marks across half forward for the Sydney Swans, so already they've taken 2 inside their 50 at the start of this third quarter.
Got the kick from Haddon. Did Membry. It's a good kick, just fades late across the face, and it's 5-8. 38 to the Brisbane Lions, 5-5-35. We've played 4 minutes in this third quarter.
Yeah, what Membry has done is make Weirden accountable for him. Weirden's a great set-up player and a great attacker for the Brisbane Lions off half-back. And that ability's probably been negated a bit by the fact that he's got to really watch young Membry, because he's got great hands and he's a good finisher.
So Close coughed it up, and here is Thomas Head. Has the footy outside 50.
He looks a bit better up the ground, where he's a little bit more room, move laterally as well as straight at the footy.
Big unit. I'll take a big kick too. From here, launches from 55, was touched off the boot. Tickner can just take it. Well wrapped up by the Sydney Swans player. That was Plug who got him. Just interjecting there was Newell. Tickner over the footy again. Here's Jaffa Williams around the footy. Live wire if he gets a little bit of space. Towers is in there also. Here he is. He's trying to work his way into the clear. Jaffa Williams gets it off to Haddon. Haddon goes back to Ray, to Lockyer. Now they go forward again. Lockyer was Longer who was going back with the flight of the ball. Naismith had it smothered, and here's Chris. Gives it off to Newell. Oh, it might be O'Brien there. Goes long. Brisbane Lions trying to work it clear. There's Rogerson. He just gave it up to Haddon, who was mauled by Stevenson. And we'll have a ball up on centre wing, this commentary side.
Yeah, there's nothing off Stevenson, but he's nice and tough at the footy. Really wrapped that tackle up there.
Ruckman guard again. We'll give that one to Naismith. Lloyd had his kick smothered. Darcy Reeves comes through, kicks it to half forward. Just worked off the ball was Cornelius, and the ball runs out of play. Half forward for the Brisbane Lions. Commentary side of the ground. 6 minutes gone. Third quarter. It is the Swans by 3 points.
Like the work of Brown on Cornelius. He's kept him right out of the game. He's had about 2 minutes where he's looked dangerous, but apart from that, he's done a great job.
Pendlebury kicks it up and under. Ball punched out towards the boundary line, right in front of us, and the Brisbane Lions coaching box.
Lyle sitting back behind the footy as he did in the second quarter, Bob.
Another throw in again. No clear winner. And it was Paris, scrubs it forward, another stoppage. A bit of frustration in the Brisbane Lions coaching box.
They're just making it arm wrestle, aren't they, the Swans? They're just giving the Lions no space whatsoever, and it's going to be an important 10 minutes here for the Brisbane Lions.
Swan, here is Gribble, works it around the corner. Hayes has front spot and takes a good contested mark right on the NEAFL logo. Goes in board. In there is Lockie, who gets a fist. He was looking for Newell. There's Lyle, gets around Jaffa Williams, can go inside forward 50, looking for Cornelius. Here's Stevenson, just bounces off his opponent, gives it to Close, goes over the top. There in the way, there was Rogerson. Working in there, here's Banfield trying to find a little bit of space. Stevenson squeezes a beautiful handball out there to Hayes, to Cornelius, who works it forward opportunistically, you would feel. And I think it might be Rogerson, is it?
Yes.
So he'll take a shot. About 25 metres straight out in front.
A lot of fumbly play there in that passage of play, but there was just one clean pick-up, quick handball, quick kick. Just sometimes you better just to try and get the ball forward, especially once you're within your 50 metre, 60 metre arc. And that's what happened there. And of course, Rogerson, as we know, Bobby, can find a little bit of space and a good finish.
So the Lions, they get their first in 2 quarters. They didn't kick one in the second quarter. So it's 6-5-41 to 5-8-38. It's the Lions by 3 points. And Cameron Stevenson, a very clever handball to help set that goal up.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. There's a lot of fumbly play, but he kept his head over the footy. And yeah, that's one of his attributes. He is clean and he has got good quick hands.
The other was a good mark there out in this wing here by Hayes. Nick Hayes, number 43.
And kicked to the space, even though it was a bit dangerous, Bob.
Yeah, no, it was a good, strong mark under pressure.
2:58s go at it. We'll give that one to Archie Smith. Here to Paris, goes backwards. It finds a target there. That was Matthew Dick, who in turn gives it off to Lockyer. And he finds out on the wing. We just might find who that one is. But Archie Smith, just looking at him, sprinting back defensively as the Lions through Radford get a hold of the ball, but turn it over straight away. And it's Matthew Dick, I think, with the ball and paid 50 metres. Some would say quite fortunately. So,
yeah, it certainly was. I think he paid the mark and obviously put the arm across Sammy and trying to spoil, but seemed in the marking contest. Technically it might have been there, but certainly a chance now for the Swans to get another major.
Good kick from there into the breeze.
So, very nice kick at goal. Looks on target, fades late once again, and the Swans can't capitalise on that 50-metre penalty. Reduce the margin to 2 points though.
Been a good consistent play down back, Matthew Dick, the boy from Calder Cannons. It's his first year at the Swans, and he's certainly showing a clean pair of heels in defence today.
Lyle just trying to work it forward, couldn't quite do so effectively and runs it out of bounds. And
it's a bit similar, guys, to the first quarter when the Swans, with the Lions kicking with the breeze, just try to shut the game down a little bit. I think the Lions should just try and break the space a little bit more, get a couple of players either to run forward of the play or laterally to some space just to try and open it up.
So O'Brien and Lloyd, bit of Roman Greco wrestling. And now O'Brien scrubbed it forward and only found Lockyer. Lockyer gives it off to Brown, the captain today. Finds Towers, who's got a bit of space. It was a good kick. Goes to half forward. Now inside forward 50. Up to Membry and takes the mark. I just hesitated because I was just wondering where his hands were.
Yeah, look, Kane Tickner's either cramped up or he's done a hamstring. He's coming off, and that's why Membry was able to get into the space. He was the player trying to chase Membry out that far side.
And Membry, a tough angle from here. Kicks it hard, but kicks it well. Terrific work by Membry, and that's his third for today, and the Swans regain the lead.
He's certainly the danger, isn't he? You know, he was the one in the first quarter, hardly had any of the ball, but since quarter time, he's been the go-to player, and gee, looks a likely tie for the future. I'm pretty excited being a Swans supporter from what I'm seeing of Membry today. He's been terrific all year in the NEAFL.
Yeah, look, he was a high draft pick last year, and look, I also like the work there of Jordan Lockyer in defence for Sydney, and the beautiful kick there from Dean Towers. Like he has had an impact this quarter.
So 4 points the margin now to the Sydney Swans. We played 12 minutes in this third quarter. Armstrong just works it forward, but working his opponent under the ball is Cameron Stevenson, takes a nice mark. Goes towards Hayes. Hayes quickly gives it off. It might be Newell, gives off to Banfield. Haven't seen much of him today. Now he goes forward up towards Michael and Naismith. Cornelius over the top, couldn't quite take it. Can the Swans now regather and work it out of defence? Still under pressure. Now Armstrong off to Lockyer. Now they clear and go off to Robinson. So Robinson away. Hayes chases, but he's got a bit of space and time. Up towards Wynn and Membry. Great hard running to find space there, and Membry got on the end of a ripping kick.
Well, as you said about a minute ago, Bob, Lockyer in defence has just won a couple of key contests. Just his use of the ball, and you can see, that's what we've been trying to say, is when a side breaks to the space and all of a sudden we get that overlap, run and carry. This quarter the Swans have been able to get the ball inside their 50 a lot better, but I think they've had probably, even at this stage, 13 minutes in, I think they've taken 5 marks inside their forward 50.
So Tim Membry, 15 possessions last week, kicked 3 goals, 5. Goes for goal again. The umpire does not move, and that is 4.
And it's only the third quarter, Kanga.
That's a very good return thus far for Tim Membry, and the Swans now skip away into the breeze, bring up the half century 7-9-51. The Brisbane Lions 6-5-41. A 10-point margin, 14 minutes gone.
Well, Bob, you mentioned just before the Lions certainly have to get a lift out of a few players, and it's the players like Banfield and Chris O'Brien. Their runners, Hayes, he's been okay, but gee, when you look through, they just really need to work a bit harder.
I really think they've missed Noel McKeever in that back half since that knock to the face late or halfway through the second quarter. He hasn't come back on the field.
Chris well smothered. Here's Naismith, tries to get a clean handball away. Radford's well wrapped up there.
You're right with that, because Lyle's now playing as a permanent defender for Brisbane.
So Guthrie was the tackler there for the Swans. Longer went high, put it to space. Lloyd just got a handball off to Haddon. O'Brien, though, just worked it hard there, and he's paid for a free kick for holding on to it too long as he busted over the line. And it's Tony Armstrong, the former Crow, who will take the free kick. Told to play on now. Up the line. That was weird, he couldn't take it. Working in the phone box there was Head and also Visage. And we will have a throw in right in front of us here. 10 points. The Swans have the lead. Longer got his hands on it there. Here's Haddon. Stevenson now mauled by Lloyd, and the umpire says,
it's amazing the coaches' boxes, how they try and
manipulate an umpire's decision.
Yeah, with Lyle going back, Mark, they need a lift out of Michael Close, the boy from North Ballarat, the draft pick this year. They need him to really have an impact this quarter.
Paris, pocket picked by Cameron Reeves, or Darcy Reeves. Banfield swung around, but he was over the line, so we'll have a throw in just below us here in the commentary position. So a throw in. Longer. Robinson sharked it nicely. Well wrapped up by Stevenson and Longer. And we should have another throw up. Another stoppage. Naismith collided hard, went down hard. Robinson squeezed the handball out towards Paris, gives it to Armstrong. Here's Jaffa Williams. The speedster has to go with his left. Just nearly taking it there well. Was the Swans. Now it's off to the big fella in head. And the ball smothered, goes out of bounds.
You think the game is absolutely in the balancing. I think it's really stepped up in intensity. I think the Lions are trying to respond with some gone up intensity, but at the same time, I think the Swans are trying to match them.
Throw in comes again. Longer, front spot. Darcy Reeves and Jaffa Williams there. The ball goes out of bounds in front of them both and in front of the big social club crowd.
17 minutes in, Mark. They've kicked one goal of the Lions, but the Swans have kicked two into it. And they've probably had the last 6 or 7 inside 50, so they're really getting on top. There's
Armstrong. Sharks it. Sorry, Bobby. Does it get there? No. Hits the post. Sorry to interject there, Bob, but great piece of play, and the Swans advance their score, albeit by a point. Brisbane Lions on the counter-attack. Running hard is Gribble. Goes further afield, is close. Up towards Tickner, who's now gone forward. Goes in board, finds Stevenson. The two Sunshine Coast products combine. Goes over the top now, looking for Michael. Turned around. Has the run of it now. In hot pursuit also there was Matthew Dick. Just shrugging the tackle, but now wrapped up. Good work there. Matthew Dick gets one out to Armstrong. He seems to be a little bit of everywhere at the moment. Gives it across to a teammate. Just working hard in the phone box. And it is taken across the line for a rush behind. And the Lions, 6-6-42 now. So 10 points adrift, 18 and a half minutes gone. Armstrong goes again. Out towards Tom Head. And also there was Lyle. Chris comes through. Can't impact the contest too much, although lays a good tackle now. Plenty of players around it now, though. And the umpire has put the whistle away. But now he asks for the ball up.
I've noticed a lift in intensity, as Mark just mentioned before, but especially from Crispin O'Brien around the footy. They're really locking in and knocking some bodies over and really trying to make an impact around the contest.
Jaffa Williams wrapped up. Banfield, clever underground handball, gets it back off Crisp. Goes in board now, looking for a target and finding it beautifully. A beautiful part of play. Great class and clean touches and clever work from Todd Banfield. And it will be, I think, Close, who will line up for goal.
Well, there were a couple of the boys we said that about 5 minutes ago we needed to lift. Banfield, you know, like he's an experienced player. And he's the sort of player, if you can just have a purple patch where he gets into the play for 10 or 15 minutes, it's going to make a hell of a difference.
So important kick this for Michael Close. Comes in on the right. Looks a good kick, they like it in the square, and so does the goal umpire. The Lions hit back. So 7-6-48, the Swans 7-10-52. 4 points the margin to the Swans. 20 minutes gone, third quarter.
Bit like Ballarat weather, Bob, for Close today. Isn't it a beautiful day for footy? Now this breeze is up. I mean, now the breeze would be pretty warm out there, so that's certainly been handy for the players. But gee, I think the key for the Swans is certainly they don't want to be running Tony Armstrong into the ground because they're going to need him in that last quarter. But it's just been a real ebb and flow type game. One side's dominated for 5 or 10 minutes and the other side come back in. It's whoever's going to impact on the scoreboard during that period of time that's going to win the game.
So Radford just didn't quite get enough purchase on it. Paris mops it up with a clever handball to Lockyer. Overshoots the kick, but fortunately finds Yaron Williams in there. Here he is again. Jaffa Williams, I should call him. His first name's Yaron. In there, Batoli Simmons for Brisbane. Coming through is Pendlebury. Just only finds an opponent. Now, for the Swans there, was Head. Just gets a kick forward. Going low and hard was, well, it might have been Pendlebury once again. In trouble, though.
Gone.
What's the umpire say? He says it's gone, and the Swans will take a shot at goal.
Yeah, a bit stiff there, Patrick Weird, and he did show a lot of courage to go in there and tackle hard, but he did go in hard and low, and once you're dived on the footy, got to try and get it out, and the umpire's pinged in for that. So chance here for the Swans, and Matthew Vicic. Is that how we pronounce it, Mark?
Visic, I think we called him.
Yes, he had a couple of kicks early, but faded out since then.
So he's done very nicely. Started the right post, brought it back, and the Swans, once again, gain a little bit more ascendancy. They're 8th. Visic is first. So 8-10, 58. The Brisbane Lions, 7-6-48. We've played 22 minutes, third quarter here at Graham Road, Aspley.
Look, again, I don't think the quarter's going to go, certainly won't go 33, 34 minutes, but gee, this last 6 or 7 minutes of the quarter, absolutely crucial to the outcome of the game.
I can remember...
Swans have now kicked, sorry Bob, now kicked 3 into the breeze.
Yeah, good effort. Look, it was at this stage in the second semi-final. Brisbane Lions looked down out against Aspley. They managed to kick 6 in a row in 5-10 minutes. They need that in this quarter now.
So here's Banfield. Copped a high one from Armstrong. I'm not sure if they're the cheers, because the supporters line, or a bit of Bronx cheers. Goes forward now. Cornelius went at the ball. Might have been infringed upon, but the umpire says no. And it is Matthew Dick who brings the ball away. And also working there was Stephen Ray. Goes to half forward, only as far as Weirden. Now puts the afterburners on. Through there, he goes. Off to Hayes. Goes off now to Rogerson on the left foot. Goes off it to Tickner. So Tickner still 65 metres out. Goes inboard now. Over the top. Cornelius and Longer were there. Both worked under it. Trying to get back on there. Cornelius works it through. Stevenson tries to get in there. Is mauled there. Weir's in the way there. Only scrubs it forward as far as Hayes for the Brisbane Lions. And Nick Hayes can go back and try to slot his first and narrow the margin, hopefully to 4 points for the Lions' sake.
Yeah, just some good forward pressure there, or defensive forward pressure by Stevenson and Cornelius to keep the ball in and put the pressure on Weir. They need a bit more of that, the Lions. They've got the ball out too easily, the Swans, in this quarter.
So Hayes lines up, looks a bit off target, doesn't quite make the distance, stays in. Here's Longer, just goes around the left foot. Michael backs back with it, gives it to Tickner, goes over the top and goals. The result eventually came. They made it hard, but they certainly got there. So the Lions strike back.
As I said, that forward defensive pressure, Mark, again, it was a scrubby old kick from Hayes from 40, but Longer did well to get it back inside, and Sammy Michael got the ball over to Kane Tickner, and good to see. Hopefully it'll give the young boy a real tick of confidence. He's had an in and out year. Kane Tickner, he's a very talented young player, and it'd be good to see if he can kick a couple more to the remainder of the contest.
The tick of confidence for Tickner.
He's full of them. He's full of them, Bobby.
So that's 8 for the Brisbane Lions goals, matching the Swans. The Swans still lead by 4 points though, approaching three-quarter time. All single goal kickers for the Brisbane Lions, barring Michael Close, who has a couple. And now we'll see Naismith and Archie Smith at it again. Give that one to Naismith, nothing clear. Lloyd with the handball there. Gave it off to Robinson, who was wrapped up quickly by Hayes. And we'll have another ball up just forward to centre for the Brisbane Lions. A clear winner. Lloyd took with one hand. Get off to Haddon, albeit working through. Here's Jaffa Williams, well wrapped up. And O'Brien will take the kick for the Brisbane Lions. Right on centre wing, commentary box side. Goes long inside forward 50, using the breeze to effect. There is Lockyer, just bustling one off there with Michael. Wrapped up nicely with Pendlebury by Weir, and now the secondary tackle they deem to be high, and it's Gribble who will take the free kick and potentially have a shot for goal.
No, I think it's Richard Newell actually, but anyhow.
Oh, it is Newell, my apologies.
It'll suit him on that left side. He is a left footer. If he kicks it out to that left goal post, the breeze could bring it around. But certainly an important kick here for the Lions, Ganga.
Last 2 or 3 minutes.
I noticed they've moved. Yeah, I noticed they've moved young Hayes to do a run with job there with off the back flank for Banfield.
Newell on the left, beautiful kick. Salutes both arms up in the air and puts the Brisbane Lions in front. They look to have the momentum, the Sydney Swans, but the last few minutes the Lions have struck back and they now lead 9-6-60 to the Sydney Swans, 8-10-58. 2 points is the margin, 26.5 minutes gone.
In both of those last 2 goals, the Swans could have worked the ball over in this pocket, in the forward pocket there, but one thing that the Lions have tried to do is keep the ball alive in those situations, and fortunately for them, 2 handy goals right very late in the 3rd quarter.
Ball back in the middle, Naismith and Archie Smith. No clear winner. There's Armstrong, had his kick smothered. Looks like a push in the back, and that one will go to Radford. And 50 metres will result as Jaffa Williams just encroached on the 5-metre perimeter. So tough call against the young man, but Radford will have the chance to kick a goal for the Lions.
I'd say it's just about on his range, this. Might be just that...
Even with the
5
breeze,
metres. Yeah, well, the breeze is sort of coming across from there, so it'll be interesting to see.
Have to start at left. At the left goalpost, one would think. Stuttering runner. Starts at left. Does it have the legs? It looks accurate. If it didn't, Cornelius had it, but it got there.
Great kick. 3 and 5 minutes the Lions have kicked.
So Lewis Radford, a terrific kick. Been in the game for most of the day, a hard worker, and all of a sudden the Lions are out.
Well, it's amazing. Exactly the same as the first quarter. The Swans won the arm wrestle early, and then all of a sudden the last bit of the quarter, the Lions kicked, I think, 5 goals. Bob in that the kick the last 5 goals, and what's happened here? The Swans looked as though they well and truly had control of the game, and all of a sudden the Lions have kicked the last 3.
8 points, the margin, 28.5 minutes gone. 3rd quarter, critical moments of this contest in the NEAFL Grand Final. Up high, went Naismith. Tackled well, is O'Brien by Lloyd, and will have a secondary stoppage.
Just proves how vital those 50-metre penalties are.
Particularly going with the breeze. There's Michael in the ruck. Dougie Haddon squeezes one out nicely to Armstrong. Going back nicely there was Burke, and that was a marker of free kick against Head, and they'll bring it back out. So right in front of his commentary position, he's working there. Long is there for the Lions, has his hands on it now. Plenty of players around the close is there also. Richards tackled him, and we'll have another ball up right in front of the NEAFL logo.
Good mark by Jordan Burke there. Used his body well. Was either, as you said, Mark, either going to get the mark or the free kick. But he's been a good, consistent player, as has this boy.
Good tap down by Longer to O'Brien as the siren sounds. And the margin at 3/4 time is 8 points to the Brisbane Lions, 10-6-66. The Sydney Swans, 8-10-58. To talk about that quarter and in the context of this game will be Bob Batty and Mark Browning.
Well, Bob, no doubt. Again, to the right of the screen, we can see that the scoring end is the end of the Lions kick there, and the Swans really had control of the game up till about 8 minutes before the end of the quarter, and all of a sudden we saw a little bit of a lift through Crisp, and especially O'Brien, I think, lifted, close gave bigger. I think the other thing that come into the play that they were pushing Sammy Michael forward, and then all of a sudden Billy Longer was down there for a while. A couple of bigger bodies. When the ball did hit the ground, the Swans weren't out marking the Brisbane Lions. The ball was hitting the deck, and all of a sudden they come into the game. But what's been proven, the scoring end is certainly to the right, and that's where the Swans are going in the last quarter. Terrific game of footy. Look, some of the skill hasn't been great, pretty fumbly at times, but certainly both sides very, very keen to win the NEAFL Grand Final.
Those 5 goals into the breeze might be, by the Swans over the 2 quarters, might be telling, I think, in the end, Mark. But yeah, it's all up for grabs in this last quarter of the NEAFL Grand Final.
So goal kickers quickly for the Brisbane Lions is 2 to Michael Close, 1 each to Newell, O'Brien, Weirden, Cornelius, Michael, Rogerson, Radford, and for the Sydney Swans, 4 to Tim Membry in a great performance so far, 2 to Plug, and singles to Haddon and Visage. It is 8 points to the favour of Brisbane Lions at 3/4 time. We'll be back for the final quarter of the NEAFL Grand Final. And welcome back. 3/4 time has elapsed and we are just about to get underway for this final quarter here at Graham Road, Aspley in beautiful sunny Queensland for the NEAFL Grand Final. The Brisbane Lions taking on the Sydney Swans. It's 8 points to the Brisbane Lions, but the Sydney Swans kick with a healthy breeze to finish, so we will see how we go. Mark Kennedy is my name, and with me is Mark Browning and Bob Batty. And what are your thoughts in a couple of words, Mark and Bob, as to the outcome of this game?
Well, you'd like to be in front right now, but Sydney are kicking with the scoring end, so I'll stick with the Swans.
Yeah, I'll stick with the Lions. I don't think it'll be much in it, Mark. It'll be a kick either way.
So that was Crisp. Gets the first decisive kick of this last quarter. Go on, Elias, nearly had it, gives it off. Now close to Banfield, goes around the corner and misses, a crucial miss.
Now, Kangaroo, we were talking off air at 3/4 time for our viewers. Of course, if a draw at the end, it's 5 minutes either way, extra time, and then it's golden point. The clock doesn't stop. It's just at the end of the second 5 minutes, it's the next score wins. And of course, the players are best on ground is the Andrew Ireland medal. Will be awarded by his daughter Natalie today to the best on ground.
We'll look forward to that presentation. Now we see Hiscox in the middle of the ground. He'll find their Paris. Paris gives it off to Lockyer, who was involved earlier in this passage of play. Now he finds Matthew Dick. Been very solid. Down back. He's got a target further afield. It's Hiscock, who came from the opposite wing, so good running from him. Hiscox goes up towards goal. Getting back there was Lyle. Burke came over the top for the Lions also and fists it over the line just in front of the change room. So a minute and a half gone last quarter. It is the Lions by 9 points.
Been a solid defender, Jordan Burke, all day. Kanga.
Been good in the contest. Coming through there was the Lions. O'Brien had it stripped of it, and it was by Haddon, and he will take the free kick.
Been really impressed with his work rate and skill. Had been a terrific player.
Doesn't need the gloves on, young Haddon.
Gives it off to Matthew Dick quickly, who boots it. Gives it an absolute ride. It was errant.
He doesn't need the gloves on. For our viewers, are you referring to Brad Haddon?
Oh, that's him, yes, Brad Haddon, the keeper.
Longer will take the kick, goes short, Crisp, goes through his fingers, stays in. The Swans have a chance here. Paris goes inboard, and just chipping in there nicely was Radford. Goes to the outer side, tough kick, Gribble was there, overruns it, Sydney come away with it, goes towards the square, and right there in the goal square is Jaffa Williams, and he will go back, and he will, barring a calamity, narrow this margin to just 3 points. And he makes no mistake, so that's his first for the day, and the Swans 9th, 9-10-64, the Lions 10-7-67, 3 minutes gone, last quarter.
Yeah, crucial kick there from Lewis Radford, and looking for Sam Gribble out in that back pocket, missed the target, and they managed to get it back in quickly, and Jaffa Williams on the end of it. So a good start for the Swans. It'll give them some confidence, and as you said, Mark, kicking with that breeze in the last quarter, that have to go in as favourites going into the last quarter.
Big Naismith, he's nearly rucked all day, hasn't he, the big fella?
He's been relieved at times by Dawes and Tom Head, but he's certainly been an absolute warrior, as has Longer. O'Brien and Jaffa Williams go at it. Pendlebury squeezes the handball out. Looked almost like a high tackle there, but the umpire says we'll ball it up. It was a good tackle, and it was on Darcy Cameron. I've got to get his name right. Cameron Reeves. Darcy Cameron Reeves.
DCR, we'll call it.
DCR. So Lloyd applies a tackle.
Has he registered that brand, Bob?
They'll have another ball up. Longer gets a hand on it. Plenty of players around the contest. Anxious moments in this contest. Fresh air shot has Paris. Towers was the one that just got the ball forward. And now the ball ends up with Chris. We got it from Lyle. Kicks it over the top. Bertoli Simmons just in the fingertips, grasps it. Looking for a target, goes long up the line. Michael needs to get there. He does at the right spot with Stevenson, who can go long inside forward 50. Closest there, good spoil by Lockyer. Plenty of players around the contest, and great work there by Lockyer. Just held on to the ball nicely and actually took it over the line and will force a throw-in.
Gee, terrific crumbing by Cameron Stevenson, and a nice kick.
Big kick to
kick the ball
advantage.
forward.
Long up, taps it over the back. Is there anybody there to help? Paris for the Swans, though, is there. And now the Swans come away. Ball kicked errantly, though. Kicking it to the interchange players, and it's gone out in the full, and it'll be Jordan Burke who can take the free kick. Launches it from whence it came. Up towards Michael. Also there was Longer. Lyle was there, just applied enough pressure so that Newell could squeeze it around the corner, and it is gone out of bounds. On the full, just inside Brisbane Lions forward 50, and it'll be the Swans who can bring it out.
Be interesting to see if the Lions can get a switcher play over the other side. That's where Sydney Swans have got all their goals in that third quarter, into the breeze, getting it on that far side. So I'm sure that's what Lee Harding will be pushing.
Burke with a big fist. The kick came from Guthrie from the back pocket. We'll have a throw in.
Brisbane keep trying to get that extra player behind the footy.
Longer and Naismith. Here's Pendlebury. Just bustled off it. O'Brien bursts through with a bit of speed. On the left foot now. Just crisp. Just did well. Got the ball now. Goes over the top to Hayes. Hayes goes inside. Big Naismith just gets those big telescopic arms up.
That helps when you're about 204 centimetres tall.
Gives it off to Armstrong now. Burke once again fists it out in front of Thomas Head. And we will have another throw in. So, critical moments of the NEAFL Grand Final. Last quarter, the Brisbane Lions, 3 points up. Longer, getting the drop zone beautifully, protecting it. Tried to just work it out there by one hand with Newell. Wrapped up.
They put the lockdown
by
man.
Visage.
They put Richard Newell onto Tony Armstrong in this last quarter, just to try and restrict his run, restrict his influence on the game.
Reading it well there was O'Brien off Longer. Go inside forward 50. Here's Ray. Gives it off, this time to Lockyer. Been good off halfback all day. The kick wasn't the best one though. Just fumbling at the wrong time with Bertoli Simmons. Banfield's in there, bursts through, finds a bit of space, gives it to Gribble, has his kick smothered. Here's Brown for Sydney Swans, but can only get a kick as far as...
Sam Gribble again.
Might be Gribble. Goes short, looks for a target and finds Cornelius. So the dead-eyed Dick, Cornelius, only has one for the day, but the co-captain will be able to go back and extend Brisbane lead if he's good enough.
That is the pocket to try and kick him from over there. Membry kicked two beautiful goals in that pocket, so can dead-eyed Dick Cornelius do the same?
From about 48, starts it right, it comes back and across the face. So he does extend the lead, but only by a minor, 10-8-68 to 9-10-64. We've played 8 minutes in this last quarter. Armstrong goes short to Matthew Dick. Goes long, outside defensive 50. Lyle just belts it. Haddon's there for the Swans. A number of players. Here's Archie Smith on hands and knees. All of a sudden, the cavalry arrive and a stoppage ensues.
Crisp and O'Brien are the two keys now for the Lions. They're starting to get their hand on the footy. They're looking dangerous.
Good tap down by Smith. Couldn't quite get a clean one away, Crisp. And another stoppage yet again. Forward 50 for Brisbane.
And the Lions with Sam Michael sitting behind the footy and also Jordan Lyle, Swans are going to find it difficult to break the wall.
Just big fella Thomas Head just looks a bit proppy. Burke was able just to smack it out of bounds again. Another throw-in, so plenty of stoppages in this last quarter. And the work around the big fellas here is going to be very important this time. It was Dawes who made an impact upon the contest. Play behind the contest there for Brisbane. Now they work it out. Lyle's got it, gives it to Burke, who quickly gives it off to Radford. A little bit of space, goes on the left foot and goes long. Up towards the big fella in close. And we will have a throw-in. So at half forward for Brisbane. Approaching 10 minutes gone, last quarter. Archie Smith gabs it with the one Duke. Getting around there was Rogerson. Gives it off to O'Brien. O'Brien had a bit of the ball in this last quarter. Goes up towards Michael. Good mark. Just judged it well and met it at full steam. Goes out wide. The kick, though, was a poor one. Looking for Crisp. And in turn could only find Plug. They're away now. That's Richards who got the kick outside defensive 50 on the wing. Weir just batted across. Now got his own footy. Gives it off to Smith. Or to Brown, I should say. Kick comes in the middle. It's dangerous. Newell's in there for Brisbane. Just works his opponent off the ball. Off to O'Brien. Gives it off. Banfield's got the run of it, but coming the other way was Armstrong. Newell just pushed off it again. Armstrong again. Gives it over the top. Banfield. Here's Stevenson. Has the run of it. Bustled off the ball by Lloyd. Armstrong just dives to try and make a tackle. Guthrie gives it off the top now to Brown. Finds a target at half forward. This is Tom Head. Goes on the left foot. Finds a short target, this time in Crawford. So outside 50. Likes his chances, although looks short now. Lowers his eyes as we see Armstrong coming off, looking injured. So we'll keep a bit of an eye on that one.
That's a big. I think he'll be all right. I mean, he's either cramped or he's got a little kick in the shin. So, gee, there was some crucial footy through the middle of the ground. It could have gone either way.
Yeah, O'Brien and Newell have lifted their work rates.
Especially O'Brien. Fantastic.
Might be Lloyd this kick, I think. It is. Goes long towards the face, hits the post.
Lovely long kick. It was a beautiful kick.
Good kick off the boot. Held our breath.
As we said, that's the side, Bob, with the breeze. That's where you need to be, out that far side of the ground.
So Michael takes the kick. Takes the mark. Matthew Dick fell over. And Michael goes long up the wing. And killed was the ball by Ray.
Starting to walk all right on the boundary line there, Armstrong, but they definitely need him back in the play.
Throwing comes again. Dawes and Longer. Good strength by Dawes. Getting through is Rogerson. Gives it over the top there to a teammate. Newell to O'Brien to Burke. They work it nicely to Weirden. They go back, right back to Lyle. Under pressure now from Membry. Haven't seen much of him lately though. Lyle gets it away to Gribble and they're away. Goes inside, breaks a tackle. Good confidence from the young man. Now can go short but overshoots the kick. Working hard there was Rogerson. And he takes it out of bounds, over the line, just forward to centre, out of side for Brisbane. 13 minutes gone. The lead is 3 points to the Lions. Mop it up. Here's Pendlebury, been a solid contributor. This time, doesn't make the contribution he would like. And it is Matthew Dick who nearly butchers it. The turnover comes. Banfield swoops. Can he make him pay? No. So Brisbane. 10-9, 69, playing 65, 4 points the margin.
One of Jason Dunstall's pet hates, the old grubber kick. He's done 2 of those this quarter, and unfortunately for the Lions, both wide of the stick.
You're watching it on NEAFL TV. Xavier Richards goes long. The ball might be run out of bounds by Radford. And out of play, half forward for the Brisbane Lions. Just let a pink plane go over. Interesting. All the people on the plane, they'll be very interested. Might be tuning in on neafltv.com.au. Grand final here. As we see plenty of players around the contest, including CDR, Darcy Cameron Reeves. Keep looking down to see my notepad every time to make sure I get his name in the right order. Throw in again. Longer goes to the back. O'Brien had his kick smothered. I think he kicked it into his own player even. They're working hard with Robinson. Hayes is attending him with a good tackle. Hayes has got there again. Now he can get off to Rogerson, who's pretty handy on the left generally. Scrubs a kick forward. Crucial contest, close. Works it forward. If advantage is paid, it's a goal. And it is. Crucial goal to the Brisbane Lions, and Michael Close, his third for the afternoon.
Just love the move of young Hayes up forward, just in that shutdown role, playing as a defensive forward. He's been very, very important for the Lions in that role in the last quarter and a bit, and he had his hands on that footy to get it through to Rogerson, who tumbled it forward and close. What a snap. Handy lead now, the Lions, late in the last quarter.
Well, interesting, Armstrong hasn't come back on. And you just wonder with the Swans playing tonight and thinking ahead, who knows, but I think Armstrong's certainly one of those players that be in the Swans 25, 26 players.
I think he's on the far wing now.
You're right, you picked him up, Bobby, which is good news for him. And the Swansies back on the paddock on the far wing.
So working forward with Lloyd for the Swans. Jaffa Williams just belts it forward, probably where he should have grabbed it. One would think Hiscox just works Lyle off the ball. Working there, good work there. DCR, I believe it was. The Radford to DCR that time, I should say. Tickner didn't quite get a handle on it. Lloyd kicks it over the top there. Rogers couldn't quite spoil. Ball goes out of bounds, and we will have a throw-in. The margin is 10 points to the Brisbane Lions, and we have 16 and a half minutes gone, last quarter.
You would think that the Swans certainly would have to kick the next one to have any hope. The Lions get another one, you think the game's nearly over. Gee, this guy, O'Brien's been fantastic.
He and Newell wax. O'Brien gets it again. Here's Hayes. Gives it off to Newell now. Off to the races he goes. Takes a bounce. Can go to the top to Banfield. A little bit of space. Can find an open target. Goes long towards the goal. Doesn't get there. It stays in the field of play. Cornelius hits it over the top. Michael snaps the goal beautifully, which gives the Brisbane Lions some breathing space. 17 minutes gone. Last quarter.
Well, it's definitely been the run of O'Brien, and certainly Richard Newell, Bob, has come into the game in a big time. We know he's got a massive, massive tank, and Tony Armstrong, I think, is feeling the pinch. It's been a great move to put Richard Newell onto Armstrong to shut him down, but more importantly, Newell's been able to really work hard offensively to give them some run and carry. So you would think at this stage the Lions just might hang on, but the next couple of minutes, if the Swans can get one back, there's still a contest to be had.
Bounce back in the middle again. Naismith and Longer. Give that one to Longer. There's Chris. Goes forward. Looking for Close. Over Banfield's head it goes as well. Here's Brown. Just works his way clear. Couldn't get an effective kick away though. The Swans just trying to work it through. Haddon was there, kept the ball inside even though his body was out. Burke over the top with a big spoil. That time the big fella indoors gives it off to Lloyd. Can go to the top to Towers, who plays on inside forward 50. It'll be a good goal if they can get it. Kicks it to the near side.
So you just wondered, eh? You're like, it was great that he took the game on, but he could have also just settled back and had a set shot at that one. Oh, terrible
kick outside from defence. Burke's there for Brisbane, tries to mop up, gets a kick away, but only can get it as far as Weir. So Weir just forward to centre. Goes to a dangerous spot, not quite the right spot in Mark Browning's opinion. Hiscox had the run of it, couldn't quite handle it, comes off his knee, and we will have a throw in. So approaching 19 minutes gone, the margin is 15 points. The title is on the line. The grand final, Pendlebury wrapped up beautifully. The pressure mounting. Hayes gives it off to Chris, to Batoli Simmons. Quickly gets a kick away, and Stevenson fortuitously gets it. Gives it back to Batoli Simmons. And he takes the ball out of bounds, and we will have a throw in. About 70 metres around from the Sydney Swans goal.
Luke Rogerson's been an important contributor in this last quarter for the Brisbane Lions around the packs and moving the ball forward. Got great defensive traits.
Naismith and Longer. Naismith to Armstrong, back on the ground now as we mentioned. Good contest and good courage by Radford. And it was Burke to Whedon. And Lyle scrubbed a kick forward to Naismith, who is right on, attacking 50 and a chance to narrow the margin.
A tough kick from there, Kanga. He's got to kick it virtually to the left-hand goalpost and let the breeze do the work, but it's a tough kick.
Gets good purchase on it. It looks like a pretty fair roost. And doesn't quite make the distance. Here's Pendlebury. Just didn't quite look where he's kicking it. Here's DCR, he swoops on it, gets it outside defensive 50. Only one player there for the Lions and does well. That was Cornelius. Here's Michael, scrubs a handball through under pressure. Lockyer can mop up for the Swans and he does so. Looks at an option, coming through there nicely. There, was close. Been good in terms of kicking goals today and some crucial work. Kicks it up the line. Cornelius hurdles the fence and will have a throw in at half forward. It was good theatrics.
The Swans haven't used the breeze well this quarter, Bob. They've been stuck on this side of the ground rather than getting to the space, getting on the top side.
As Cornelius has clapped back onto the field there, Kanga.
Good re-entry. There's a good exit. Stunning. Hayes to Banfield under pressure. They might have turned it over. Here's Jaffa Williams. Gives it off to Hiscox. Shows a clean pair of heels to Radford, who looks like he might have done a string possibly or cramped up. Hiscox kicks it long. Is it accurate? That's the question. No. Another minor.
Showed some great leg speed there, Mark, Jack Hiscox.
He certainly did.
He did, but the Lions have done this well this quarter. They've had the extra play deep behind the footy, and it really made the Swans have to double guess what to do with the ball as they've come, especially when they've been loose and free. There's been no room for that run and carry.
Mark paid to Longer.
No, can't play on from
Umpires suggested he had enough purchase on it. Opposition not too happy about it, but he got the kick, goes up towards Cornelius, has the run at it, and takes a good mark in front of Robinson. Here's O'Brien, running power to the 4, up towards Michael. Richards just edges him off the contest. Here's Banfield, just takes a fresh air shot. Had a bit more time if he thought about it. Michael just bustles his way through. Plenty of players around the contest. Here's Chris, had his kick smothered. Here's Armstrong, just bursts through with leg speed and goes up towards Jaffa Williams. Can't quite take it. Here's Whedon, off to Rogerson, run down but breaks the tackle. Finds, and is in fact, advantage is paid. It ends up with Whedon. So play goes on. Up towards Archie Smith. Gathers now. Turns around. Can take a shot at goal. This way, that way. Goes. First year of footy. Just find his way through. And it is off to Matthew Dick. He's working through. And on the rebound they go. Here is Plug. Trying to work it through. In close attendance is Burke. Been a terrific contributor today, Burke. Gives it off to Lyle. Has Hayes as a target, and the Brisbane Lions can settle. Goes up towards close, outside defensive 50, and a very good mark on the lead in front of Lockyer.
I think everybody wanted big Archie Smith up the other end to have a shot. He just couldn't get himself free.
The son of Andre Moore, Archie Smith. And a great mark by Aaron Cornelius, standing up at a crucial time right here on centre wing, right in front of us here on the commentary position. Goes short to Michael, just edging their way forward, and importantly from their point of view, chewing up time.
It's been their marking power, hasn't it, this last quarter? When the Swans got tired, they've just been outmarked all over the ground.
Good leap by Archie Smith. Robinson well wrapped up. Matthew Dick, I think it was taken out by Cornelius, and he will take a shot at goal if he can.
I'm sure he will.
45. Never short of a shot is Aaron Cornelius.
The other fella, apart from a couple of ordinary kicks at times, Jordan Burke, I think, had a terrific game for Brisbane at full-back. You know, on the list as a rookie list player, played forward all his junior career, done a real good job.
Cornelius comes in, looks to be across the face, stays in play though. Big fist. Lloyd for the Sydney Swans mops up. Can go over the top. Finds Towers. Goes back to Lloyd. In hot pursuit is DCR. Darcy Cameron Reeves. Just turns him inside out, does Lloyd, and goes inside. Finds the big fella in Naismith. Just kept plugging away the big fella. He's been pretty good today. He and Longer have had a big battle, but that kick is a shocker. And finds Bradford, who looks to have recovered, even though I thought he might have had a bit of a cramp or a muscle strain. Goes out wide. Just getting a fist on there is the Swans' defence. It might have been Brown, I think.
It's great to see him have a breakout game, Lewis Radford, Mark. He's had a year where he's 17th year, he didn't play any footy.
Shoulder Rico.
Yeah, and just to play that well today in a big final was a fantastic for the
Here's
young boy.
Chris, breaks a tackle, goes forward, nobody home though, and it's only Lockyer. Has a chance to reload from the back half. Gives it off to Richards. Off to Lockyer again. Had a choice of he and Armstrong. Now they're in the middle of the ground. Here's Robinson. They go long towards Membry and Whedon. But coming in and chiming across the pack nicely was Lyle.
Does read the play well, doesn't he?
They have to do something quickly, the Sydney Swans, if they are to challenge. There's Burke on the far side, half back. Every second becoming a precious one as far as the Lions go in terms of winning, and the Swans go in terms of getting closer on the scoreboard. Naismith scrubs it forward. Working through as a teammate. They're looking for Membry up forward, and he's got it.
Yeah, he's been shut down this quarter though. They've had the extra back all quarter, Brisbane, so which has helped win.
You're backing from here, Mark. He'll get the distance.
Oh,
It's
certainly
whether
get
he'll
the distance.
whether he'll get the accuracy, but he's such a straight shooter. You wouldn't rule him out from there, Kanga.
It's a nice kick from Paris. So Membry launches a ripper. An absolute cracker.
It's number 5.
He has a handful.
Well, as we said, that certainly brings the Swans within 8 points. You probably think 3, maybe 4 minutes absolute max. But we did say that the Swans have wasted the bruise of this quarter and we just saw there, if you get the ball on the right side, the far side of the ground, there's no doubt that's a bit the place. But they've been stuck over this quarter, this part of the ground for way too much of the time in this crucial quarter.
It's back to the 8-point margin. They had it 3/4 time, so it's 2-3 each for the quarter.
Back in the middle of the ground. Crucial stoppages now. Free kick going the Swans' way. Fortuitously, one would think, but a free kick nonetheless. It's Big Naismith. Gives it out wide. Here is Ray. Just got loose off half back. Just absolutely gives nothing of a kick toward, and it is Lyle that takes the easiest marks with no Swans within Cooey of the footy. He can kick short and finds O'Brien right on defensive 50. Just trying to chew up time now, and there is the final siren. The Brisbane Lions, congratulations. 8-point victors over the Sydney Swans, 12-9-81, defeating the Swans 10-13, 73 as we hear the Brisbane Lions theme song.
Yeah, very good finish by the Lions in that last quarter. They really lifted, Mark, didn't they? Around the packs. Jesse O'Brien, in my mind, was the difference in that last quarter. Had a fantastic last quarter to really will them over the line in the last quarter.
Yeah, no, I think, look, terrific game of footy. Certainly the scoring in where the Swans were going, but I just thought they were a bit dumb the way they used the ball in that last quarter, but certainly the hard running of Jesse O'Brien, and I think the move, no doubt the move of Richard Newell onto Tony Armstrong just cut the influence, but more importantly, Newell got a lot of the footy. They just batted a little bit deeper, and the other one which I thought was important in that quarter was Patrick Widden, who'd had a great battle with Membry for the whole day, but Membry did kick 5, but more importantly, for the first 20-25 minutes of that quarter, he was cut right out of the game. So, look, well done, terrific game. A lot of the young players played very well, but in the end of the day, Kanga, I think just a little bit more depth in the midfield was the key, no doubt.
So the Lions 8-point winners. Rough and tumble contest. It ebbed and flowed, and at three-quarter time, it certainly looked like the Swans could challenge. And challenge they did, but the Lions were good enough kicking into the breeze to kick 2 goals to hold off the Sydney Swans. And the Brisbane Lions will be the premiers for the NEAFL competition in 2013. The Andrew Island medalists will be awarded to the best player on the ground, and we await that presentation. Mark, could you, and Bob, perhaps you might be able to give us some thought process as to who might be in the running for that award?
Certainly from the Lions, Mark, I'll give a quick rough go of them. I thought Jesse O'Brien was probably their best. I thought Jordan Burke in defence was very, very good for the Lions. And certainly, I suppose the job that Patrick Weirden did, but then at the same time, you've got to give it to young Membry, the kicking 5, a fantastic effort. So from the Swans' perspective?
Oh, certainly Tony Armstrong I thought was magnificent all day, just his hard running and it was really, look, Tony Armstrong was one of those players that doesn't naturally do a lot of the defensive things, but a lot of his defensive stuff and his hard running against the odds today, I thought was absolutely sensational. I thought the other player for the Swans, Kangaroo, did pretty well. I thought the boy down back, Lockyer, I thought had a pretty good day, but I think as Bobby Batty leaves us, he's got to go down as master of ceremonies, but look, it was just one of those ebbs and flows games, wasn't it? A bit here, a bit there. But in the end of the day, it just got down to that hard running, and I thought that's where O'Brien and certainly Richard Newell. I thought the extra one back, Jordan Lyle, really made a difference. What they were trying to do was actually protect the back so that the Swans couldn't get that, what do they call that release, that player, that quick release running to space. And the Lions had a player back there chopping that space off for the whole day. So, yeah, look, pleasing result. The other pleasing thing for us from an AFL point of view, Kangaroo, was certainly the crowd. It built up pretty significantly here at Graham Road, Aspley.
Absolutely. We saw plenty of, and we still see plenty of kids out on the ground here. We are getting ready for the ceremony to award the Andrew Island medal. It was the Lions by 19 points at quarter time. The Sydney Swans by 2 points at half time. The Lions again taking over after the Swans looked like they'd worked very hard in that third quarter. The Lions kicked abrasive goals late to take an 8-point lead into the last change, and they were good enough to hold that margin through to the final siren and run out 8-point winners and the premiers for 2013.
We've seen a lot of NEAFL footy, Kangaroo, this year, the standard. Pretty good.
Yeah, definitely, and I think what we have seen is the likes of Aspley, Southport, the Brisbane Lions, the Gold Coast Suns, amongst others, play some fantastic football, and the standard really pick up, which has been pleasing. And certainly in that Eastern Conference, there's been some fantastic play, and obviously headed by Belconnen, who were defeated by the Swans in last week's conference final. Obviously some tremendous football. Mark Browning, thank you for your contribution, and also to that of Bob Batty. It is the Brisbane Lions premiers for 2013 and the NEAFL competition. Mark Kennedy signing off from Graham Road at Aspley.